Welcome everyone to the 170th edition of the Nuthouse podcast brought to me by boxofsam.com. I'm your host Andy Patterson, and today I've got Adam Smith, Dave the Hater, Lowback, Donny Baseball, Matty D, Paul Webb and Steve Wellens. Alex Morris unfortunately not here just now. He might be here a little after 9 o'clock, I don't know. It's a shame because we really need him for some of the complaints and moans about some of the judges' scorecards last night. But I think there's only one place we should be starting, and it's basically, I really should have wrote down what I actually think about this guy's career, but I think everyone knows what I think about this guy's career and where it's actually going. But the broken man himself, about bail, about broke, cloner, well, basically gave up his title on the scales against Ashley Theophane. Now, probably I think we all said last week that Theophane didn't really kind of stand much of a chance. Some people were kind of going to say he's a D-level fighter. I wouldn't go quite far as a D-level fighter. We're talking about an ex-British champion here. I just think you've seen a guy who was past his best. I think with Cloner sometimes you've got to basically kind of like aim him with straight shots. I just don't think Theophane did that, although he did get lucky a few times with the left hook. He was quite wide with a lot of his shots actually, and Cloner was allowed to kind of fight his own pace for about the first 3 rounds, I thought, until he actually kind of, I think he maybe hurt Theophane then, and that's just when he just kind of started walking him down. Certainly no impressive, in my opinion. He's calling out Floyd next. That was an absolute disgrace, just watching Floyd there standing clapping like a fucking seal at the zoo, just basically kind of chewing gum. Fucking, it's just pure fucking bollocks. The whole shit that they're going to be fucking generating up. I don't want anybody to be saying they want to see this fight anytime soon. I don't want to see Floyd coming out of fucking retirement to beat this prick. I don't want to see him get a payday. I want to see him homeless. I want to see him broke. I want to see him in jail because he's obviously guilty for what he's done so far. But that's enough of that for me just now on Adrien Cloner. But I'll go to Donny as a lawyer. Donny, you've been reading the reports like Adrien Cloner. I think it's all confirmed now that he is guilty and he is going to be facing prison time, isn't that correct?
Well, I'm sure he's guilty in the court of Andy Patterson.
He is fucking guilty.
I mean, no, I haven't read through everything. From what I understand is that there is a video with sound, but it doesn't actually show him. It doesn't actually clearly identify Broner as the person who hit the guy in the face. So there is something going on, though. I mean, like, let's put it. It doesn't look good, but can it be proof beyond a reasonable doubt? I don't know. So I think that what'll probably happen is that if you'll notice, a civil suit was filed alongside, and actually even before the criminal charges were filed by the county prosecutors.
Double whammy, baby. Double whammy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the thing is, though, is that if Broner were to, give a favorable settlement in civil court, to this guy who's claiming that he was beaten and robbed, if Broner were to pay him off legally through a civil suit, not an illegal payoff, but a legal one in terms of damages, then that person might decline to cooperate with the prosecution and act as a witness and say Broner hit him. He might, change a story, or he might.
You fucking knocked him out.
Huh?
You knocked him out. He's fucking guilty. And hopefully this guy doesn't accept whatever payoff he's going to get. He takes him the whole way, and Cloner gets. What's he facing here? What's he facing?
If he's vindictive about it, it could be bad for Broner. But I think that if Broner settles the civil suit, that the criminal charges will get pled down to something minor. Broner probably will, he may not even have to serve time. It may have to be like house arrest or something like that. I mean, who knows? But I don't know. I think the only other offense he has is that granny beating that we know about. But that was when he was a minor, so they're not going to take that into account. So I think he might be in the clear, to be honest with you. I don't think his boxing career is going to get impacted as long as he pays this guy off, which he has the money to do. So he'll probably be all right.
He's not got money to pay him off.
Yeah, well, too much child support payments.
I was going to say, he's almost got a football team full of fucking kids now. It's a shame for them, actually. Yeah. I mean, Dave and I were talking about that. It's a shame for them if he gets sent down to jail and that. But you know what? Fuck them. There's welfare out there at the end of the day. There's fucking food banks and stuff. Dave,
I, for one, feel bad for all people who are victims of assault and robbery. I'd just like to throw that out there, Johnny.
Dave, you've got the fight on just now, mate. I was just talking about, probably the best thing to do with Cloner is probably catch him with straight shots. You didn't see Theophane maybe throw many straight shots at him, but he was catching him with the left hook a few times.
Dave's no longer with us, unfortunately.
No, Steve, you want to take that one up, mate?
What was the question, sorry, Andy?
Just, you think, just give me a take on the fight, mate. I mean, as I was just saying, sorry, that Theophane wasn't throwing straight shots, it was more kind of wide punches and stuff. He wasn't really going to get a lot of success, but he was kind of landing the left hook at times.
Well, my view of it was, I mean, it was no great shock really. Theophane's not very good. I mean, that's the short, long and short of it. I think Ashley was sort of parachuted into this shot at a totally meaningless title, and he stood up. He took a beating. He's a very strong, tough guy. He's fought around British title level, gone over to America, paid his dues. I have a lot of respect for Theophane, but he just wasn't up to it really, because he was in the ring. Broner, I thought, showed his usual set of skills. He showed impressive power, good accuracy, and he found pretty much a shop-worn opponent in front of him. The win does very little for me, actually, the whole performance. I think Broner needs better levels of opposition. He needs to sort out his diet, he needs to sort out his attitude. But he won't, because he has no incentive to. I truly believe that Broner's in a position where he has his niche nailed down. They want to market him as the man everyone loves to hate. They put him on the telly and people watch him. It doesn't matter what he does outside of the ring. They won't stop him. They won't rein him in, because his rating's gold. It's not in their interests to stop the Adrien Broner show. It's in their interest to keep it going. I've said before, I can see Broner doing a stretch, if not this time, but maybe the next time, coming out of prison as a fat middleweight and ending up washing Rob Palmer's car or something, like your man Palmer said on the podcast many years ago. I mean, Broner, he's going to end up a light heavyweight or something ridiculous. His life is completely out of control. He has a lot of skills inside the ring. Maybe not as good as he thinks he is. Maybe not as good as some people, including myself at the time, thought he was going to be. I'm not ashamed to say that I thought he was going to take over the Mayweather mantle at one point early in his career. A bit embarrassing now, but I did think that. But now he's just...
Who said that he would never make that mantle right from the off?
Yeah, well, fair enough. No, you've been proven to be right. There's just so many problems with the guy. He's had issues from the start of his career, and it just doesn't look like it's getting any better. But like I said at the beginning, basically, no incentive to change. They won't stop him. They won't rein him in, because he brings numbers, he brings the publicity, he brings the interest for them. Long may it continue, as far as the PBC are concerned.
Matty, you were saying you were a bit disappointed with the stoppage, mate. Give me your take on that.
He turned to the ref to complain about a low blow. There was like 3 feet between him and Broner at the time, and that's when the ref stopped it.
I'm sure it was an alright hand that also landed in there as well, because Theophane kind of his legs seemed to kind of go a bit, and then
he was cognizant. He was cognizant. He was in no worse shape than he was at other points in the fight. I thought it was a missed stoppage. I mean, I don't think anything was going to come of it or anything like that, but I think it's important that we know that at the end of the day, get through that little moment in time. Probably Broner went 12 with Ashley Theophane, whatever that's worth.
Well, I don't know if we can look at that fight and then take the Nick Blackwell situation into account. I mean, you had a guy there who, for all intents and purposes, looked semi-okay. Theophane, in my opinion, just looked like he was getting beat up constantly.
Yeah, but I mean, he had the ability to turn to the ref and say that he got hit in the balls. I mean, enough's there. You're cognizant of the pain in your testicles. I think you're okay.
Another thing, actually, Paul, I don't know what your take is on the stoppage, but one thing that really pissed me off after the fight was, I knocked his ass out and all that sort of stuff. He's actually got all these fucking sycophants chanting for him. They all leave the ring with him this time for a change, believe it or not, because he's not got fucking beat or got his ass handed to him. But they're going on like beating Ashley Theophane was some sort of fucking world-class performance. You beat a French contender who's past his best, and you're 20-1 favourite to fucking win the fight. How can you be happy with that shit? Plus your performance was fucking terrible. People were booing that shit at times.
Well, the way I look at it, would Ashley Theophane win the British welterweight championship? Would he beat Willie Limond or Tyrone Nurse? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I know he's been a champion before, but this is the kind of level of fighter we're talking about here. Theophane has made, and he's done a great job of making a career for himself out of picking up his stuff, going over to America, and becoming one of the TMT guys. And they've taken him in. They've gave him opportunities that he probably didn't deserve. He had the shot against Pablo Cano, which he lost. His career has been based on one very strong performance against a young Danny Garcia, and then a lot of mediocre. But there's nothing wrong with that. English fringe level. He gets thrust in a fight with Adrien Broner, and I said before the fight, it doesn't matter what build-up Broner's had. It doesn't matter how bad his training may or not been, or how many people he's been beating up outside bowling alleys. He was always going to beat Theophane, because even if Broner is no longer an A-level fighter, he's still a level above the likes of Ashley. I thought, the fight went as expected. I mean, cheering and making out like you've just picked up some huge win is ridiculous. And I think when you talked about that guy for Broner, the guy who beat up being paid off, I think boxing fans would happily start a Just Giving page, willing to match whatever offer that Broner would give him to see Broner put away. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's a personality. I think when the likes of even Eddie Hearn in IFL videos are saying that it's gone a bit far, he's bad for the sport. What is good about watching him fight, knowing everything about him, and it's not like he can get away with it because he is one of the top 5 or 6 in the world. He's not anymore. He's been beaten conclusively by Madonna, beaten by Sean Porter. I wouldn't back him to beat anyone at 147, which is where he will probably end up because, as we've seen with his non-attempt to weigh in for the fight, he was only a few ounces over. If he had any dedication or respect for the sport, he'd have turned around and gone, right, I'll see you in a couple of hours, knock the weight off, right, let's have a fight. He didn't, and how many fighters have lost 2 belts on the scales like this? He has a history of doing it. I know he doesn't care about the belts, that's what people will say, but it just shows disrespect for the game. It showed disrespect to Theophane as much as anything else.
Wait, Donny, he can't turn around and say this. I'm not bothered about the belts and stuff like that, because see, what was really kind of sticking in my throat was the way the PBC went on about, he's a 4-weight world champion. I remember Brandon going on about the fact is before he fought, I forget who he went. Was it Paulie? That's who it was. He says, will Broner become a legit 3-weight world champion? No, because he never hangs around a boot long enough to fucking defend it, A, against any decent opposition, or B, against any mandatory challengers. I mean, he beat a cocked-up fucking Eloy Perez, who was a fucking midget. Anthony DeMarco, who basically made him look good because he stood there all night and just fucking let Broner tee off on him, because Broner, if you give him movement, he's going to fucking struggle with it. Chino pushed his shit back in. I
thought he lost to Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon.
Yeah, Ponce de Leon.
I thought he lost to Ponce de Leon. He was huge compared to Ponce de Leon. Think about Broner at 130 pounds compared to little Ponce, who fought at 122 for half of his career. I mean, the size disparity was fucking ridiculous. And
the only improvement he's made is basically put on fucking bulk, and that is it. Because he's, as you said, Donny, Malinagi, I was a faded Malinagi, and that's a split decision. Some people had Paulie winning that fight, right? Paulie, seen better days, good technical boxer and stuff, but even Broner struggled with him. Simple fact is he just basically had to use his size to try and kind of outman him at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all he's trying to do just now.
That's
all he's trying to do just now is outman people. Use his size, walk through them and stuff, because he's got no head movement. He uses that fucking shitty Diet Floyd fucking Philly Shelley he's got, shoulder roll, and then he's got fucking flat feet. He's got feet like concrete. I've seen Canelo's got better foot movement than that prick.
Yeah, he does. No, all I was going to say earlier was just that I mean, to give him credit for one thing is I don't think that when he got on at that scale of 140.4. I don't think there was anything left to take off, because first of all, he looked dry as a bone. He looked really, really fucking spent, like at that particular time. And if you believe the scales, I don't know if they put him back on with street clothes or not, he rehydrated to 171. Man, like he really must have been dry if that's a way.
Yeah, apparently, man, that was a rumor, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that he didn't try. I just don't think that there was anything left. But and I think also the other thing is that I think we are going to see him at 147.
Not good.
Get his legal business sorted out, because I don't know if you guys just saw, I think a couple hours ago, he apparently is calling out he wants Danny Garcia, which actually will be a fun fight. He's going to lose, but it'll be fun.
Can I just say, actually, just on the topic of the weight, 147, he claimed, was it 2 years ago he fought Paulie? He says he's moving back down because he didn't think he was feeling that strong at the weight. What's changed? Because he hasn't been trying to work himself into the weight. He's eating himself into the weight. He's eating himself into the weight. I mean, he asked for Porter to come down to 144 for him, right? Porter hadn't made that weight since he was like fucking 2 years old. Well, so what's the likes of guys like, I mean, I hate to think like, say, maybe like Brook, for instance. What the fuck would he do to him?
Oh, he'd kill him. Yeah, he'd smash him. No doubt. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
and I don't even like Brook, but he would.
Two things. I mean, one thing I want to make a joke saying, I just think that maybe that Broner's trying to end up being like the Black John Goodman, doing his best Big Lebowski thing here. I don't know. But I also would like to say that fighters don't have much respect for him. In a little Twitter exchange I followed yesterday, this gentleman by the name of Samuel Horowitz said, well, he got involved with it, but anyway, it was about Broner. And Donovan George said the whole Floyd and Broner beef is totally fabricated and was planned months ago. Two C-list actors trying too hard. John Scully got involved in it and said, yep, very obvious to me. Donovan George comes back, says the writing was on the wall. clowns. Scully. It's odd to me because I can't imagine real boxing people falling for it. And I said, a lot of people just want to see Broner get beat again. George says, I usually respect and defend every fighter. It takes big balls to do what we do, but AB is a cunt. John Scully says, believe me, I understand, I respect all, but this guy, he makes it difficult. So, when you got a guy like Donovan George, he's been a fringe contender for a while. He's fought a lot of guys, he's been around the sport. When you got a guy like that who really has respect for the sport, yeah. So, we've talked to John Scully. You talk about a guy whose opinion has been around the sport up and down. So, the guy just has no respect in the industry. They just think he's a fucking clown. And this is probably the worst monster that Al Heyman has built.
To be honest, I think Al Heyman's got much fucking control of him. Because if he did, he wouldn't be running around riding sewer rats on camera and stuff without fucking condoms. He wouldn't be running about with 50 grand barbells he's no paid off and shit. I think Al Heyman
he's going to burn enough bridges. He's going to burn enough bridges. He's going to be about Beltran here soon.
Beltran, aye. Well, we've got Adrien Smith. Adam, give me you. Did you catch a fight with about Bologna and Ashley Fay thing, or about biscuits, about baby back ribs and all that sort of stuff, about barbecue sauce?
About burgers.
About burgers.
I'm a bit depressed this weekend with boxing, but that just started the weekend of the boxing depression, to be honest. Didn't miss the weight, didn't even try and make it. Blown up, was fighting Fay, and when I found out Floyd was going to be there, so yeah, I've watched bits of it, but I skimmed through it. To be honest, it was shite. It was just shite. I agree with Steve. It was the same thing what Broner always brings. He thinks he walks around like he's a puncher. No head movement, as you said, Andy. We didn't learn anything at all. It's just like WWE basically. It's terrible. It really is.
Now, Donna, you set up a list of 10 names of people you want to see Floyd fight, I believe it was. Was it Floyd? Aye. Now, I've got to call issue on that fucking thing straight away. You put the Charlo brothers in the top 10, don't include Cloner in there? Come on, man.
But
think quiet and get serious, for fuck's sake.
A fitting segue here is Adam's comments about the WWE, because if you're actually talking about 10 names that would give Mayweather a better fight, would give them the best fight if he came back. If I recall correctly, I don't know if you have the list in front of you, I don't, but I think the list I made was, if Floyd were to come back, here are the 10 people that I'd like to see him fight.
I'm just looking for it just now. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Did you create the thread yourself,
No. It was oh shit. You want me to find it?
If you go into the search tab, Andy, search stupid list.
Anyway, you put Pacquiao in there, right? You put Pacquiao too. I don't want to see that shit.
My list was Gennady Golovkin, Amir Khan, Canelo rematch, Pacquiao rematch. What else did I list? Terrence Crawford, Tim Bradley. I threw Brooke in there at some point. I threw in the Charlo brothers. I threw in Demetrius Andrade. I even threw in Victor Postal. And I said all these guys would be guys that I think would give Mayweather a better fight. If Mayweather's going to come back, I'd rather see him fight any one of those names as opposed to, Broner. And it's not like, from like I said, from entertainment perspective, yeah, would it be fun to see Broner get his ass beat by his former idol? Yes, that would be very entertaining, but I just don't. As a boxing fan, I really don't want to see it, and I think that those 10 other names I just listed would be much better.
Andrade, man, Christ, who's his best one? Brian Rose?
But that doesn't. No, I had Spence in there too, but that doesn't really matter. Like,
But you want why? If you want Floyd Mayweather, wait a minute. If you want to have Floyd come out of retirement for 50-0, he's not going to fight Errol fucking Spence. He's going to fight the Charlo brothers, and Andrade's fighting fucking lawsuits rather than fighting in the fucking ring.
Well, he just got all those settled out. He's fighting again this month, I think. But anyways, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying, this wasn't like something that I actually think's going to happen. Some of the other fighters I listed actually could happen, but like for instance, if Khan were to ever pull that off against Canelo, I think that he basically could be somebody that Floyd would actually come back and fight. I think if Canelo were to, fight GGG and beat him, or I think that's an actual possibility, but that Floyd would come back to fight him. But But yeah, I mean, I was just saying things I thought that would be a better fight than the Broner fight. I didn't necessarily mean that all of them were feasible. For instance, I threw Bradley on the list, but I don't think he's going to come back to fight a top-ranked fighter. So, I mean, it was just a hypothetical list, like in a boxing fantasy world, not necessarily set in the real world.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in with this clown, this complete cunt of human trash? Anything you want to say before we move on?
No, just on Donny.
Yeah, I think the Mayweather fight stylistically would just be awful, and if Mayweather does come back, that it's got to be for something good. It can't be for this idiot. And the people talk about fights for Broner. He needs to be in with someone who can, you don't want to say end his career because obviously you don't want to talk injury. You need someone that pays him enough money for him to not fight again, or he ends up in prison. Either option is as long as he goes away. He symbolised everything that's wrong with the PBC and how certain fighters have tried to imitate the Floyd style. The difference is Floyd's got a bit of substance behind what he does, whereas Broner is just a false fake idol. And the worst thing for him is he has the talent, he has the ability, and it's gone now. He had it. Yeah, it's gone now. He's lost it. And whatever he does from now on will only be a fraction of what he could have been, because he just decided to go a different way. And there's nothing worse than seeing fighters waste natural ability when other fighters with less talent just go out of their way to do their best as possible. So yeah, get good riddance, and let's stop talking about him.
The best thing to call fucking Cloner just now, actually, a skilled bum. He's got a bit of talent about him. No question. He did have a bit of talent about him. He's never fucking refined it, never worked on it, never worked on the stamina, the foot movement, the head movement, all that shit, right? He's got a bit of power, he has got, some flashy combinations and shit, but I'm writing him off, I know that, but he's going to be easily managed and stuff, but as I say, hopefully he gets sent to jail, hopefully he gets anally invaded, and hopefully he catches some sort of life-threatening disease, and then he's gone forever, because I don't want to see him fucking, I've got to do this shit, so I've got to watch him, I suppose, isn't I? But there you go.
I just, I got to say this, though. I mean, it's hard to root for Broner, but if he fights Danny Gift Garcia, I think I might actually be Team Broner in that one.
The two worst dressed dickheads in the sport of boxing, I'll fucking tell you that much. When they walked to the ring, they did it together. It would look like a Persian wedding.
Matty, Robert Easter Jr., you're actually quite impressed with him, actually. He did fight off against former world champ Alenji Mendez.
First guy to stop Mendez, I think.
Yeah, I think he was, actually. What was it? A right hand, I think. Just basically, he folded him up, actually. But he's basically dominated him for the entire fight, I felt.
He really impressed me. He for a tall guy, he was able to fight in close, but he also fought at range really well. I mean, when he wanted to use his jab, he controlled it, but when he stepped in, he ripped off really good combinations. For a guy with long arms, he really knows how to work inside. I'm not gonna. It's tough to say where Mendez was at. I mean, he was only a weight class above where he had done most of his competing. So, I mean, I'd like to hold off on any prophetic ideas about Easter coming up, but the guy can punch. He's very rangy. And if you close the range, he does a lot of business. So, unless he's coming in against a guy who can catch him in the middle distance, and I will say he did get caught. His defense is a bit porous, but I mean, unless you find a guy that can really do battle at mid-range and force the fight there, this kid's going to be tough to deal with.
Especially at lightweight. I mean, what is he? Something like he's almost close to 6 feet.
He's 5'10" or 5'11". He's pretty close to Crawford's dimensions if you think about it.
Big for the weight. Good to see what he's going to. Well, this might be Mike Stafford's, best prospect. I don't know. I mean, Cloner. I'm not going to get back into him again, but just write that cunt's career off anyway. Going to the Sky card. No. I suppose it was okay to a certain degree. I don't know if I'm going to get shit on for saying that. Rocky Fielding had a bit of a rocky moment. Scotty Cardal, basically pretending. Tesco Joe Gallagher in the corner, and Scotty Cardle's pretending to be the Aldi fucking Pernell Whitaker, actually, because those first 4 rounds I thought he was just basically giving them away. At one point, I think I had Dodd something like, what was it, like 88 84 at one point. I actually stopped scoring the fight because I was actually listening to the commentary at one point and saying to myself, well, I fucked this up. Because I think Jim Watt had it like a point at one point to Cardal, going in late into the fight, I think. I think Holland claimed to have 1 point to Sean Dodd. And straight after the fucking fight ended, I said to myself, here comes the robbery. And we'll get on to John McDonald in a little bit on Belly of the Week segment, but Steve or Paul, did I fuck up, or Adam, did I fuck up with the scorecard here, or did Sean Dodd win this fight?
What did you end up with then? I know you stopped scoring.
I gave up with it at about the 10th round. I'm saying to myself, I'm surely can't be fucking seeing this fight here, because I had something like 4 points to Dodd at around about the 8th or 9th round or something, and they had it like a point closer. I've seen a few on Twitter saying that Cardal's winning this by 2 points. I'm saying, this can't be right, surely.
So people had Cardal winning,
I had it after 4 rounds. I had it 3 rounds to 1 to Cardal, but I ended up with it 116, 112 to Dodd. I thought that Cardal it was quite obvious what Cardal was looking to do. You know, he was up against quite a slow-moving, limited fighter in Dodd, so he was boxing and dipping in and out. But if you're going to win a fight by, like you say, doing the Pernell-Whitaker stuff, Pernell-Whitaker 3 punches. You can't win a fight or can't win a round in this day and age just by defending and just by allowing Dodd to throw shots over your head or a foot in front of you. I mean, Dodd's punch stats for the fight were probably atrocious, but because he was actually throwing leather, particularly the last 4 or 5 rounds, which I thought he really dominated, I don't get it. I mean, I was starting to really question myself last night. I didn't think it'd be a robbery. I was a bit naive. I thought, well, you know, Cardal started okay, but then he pretty much switched off. Tesco Joe in the corner was going mental at him. Basically, he told him rounds 11 and 12, right, end of round 10, you need to win this round. He didn't. He then said, right, you're going to need to possibly knock this guy out. And he didn't, and he lost the round again. The judges scored, the guy who had it 8 rounds to 4 to Cardal. I'd love for them just to come and explain where they saw 8 rounds. Some of the rounds, the action was slow and there wasn't a lot going on, but Dodd was closing him down. Dodd was throwing the more punches. Dodd was landing the more shots. And Cardal looked knackered by the end of the fight. He was cut. He was bleeding from the corner of cover over his eye and on the back of his head. You know, he looked a mess. And then to see them celebrating in the ring afterwards, like they were celebrating because they got away with a, and I don't want to use the word robbery, but they got away with the most fortunate piece of scoring, and they retained their title on what John McDonald obviously described as being something that he shouldn't have done, a technical draw. But you know,
we'll get on to that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, just overall, I thought, you know, Dodd did okay. He should have won the fight. He did much better than he did in the previous one. Cardal lost. Cardal has more ability. Cardal should have won it, but he just got his game plan completely wrong. I don't think he was listening very well in the corner either. Joe was telling him he needed to win rounds, and he didn't. And he just didn't win the fight. He didn't draw. Draw is just people saying, oh, you could give it a round either way. You couldn't. Masha Dodd should be the British champion, and the fact he's not is just poor.
I had Dodd winning 7-5. It was difficult to score because, in fairness, it's clear for everyone to see, including the trainer, including us, including Cardal himself, that he did not throw enough punches. But Dodd has got a style that is rather awkward, I would say. There's people at my gym that have got a more aesthetically pleasing style than Masha Dodd, and he knows that as well, and his team know that. So, you know, sometimes when Cardal is looking pretty slick at times, but not throwing a lot, it's difficult to award Dodd the, you know, if you like slick boxers, it's difficult to award some of them rounds, well, most of them rounds last night to Masha Dodd, because Cardal was at times looking pretty slick, trying to do his Floyd Mayweather impression, and you know, avoiding punches a lot of the time. But I thought I had it same as Paul. I thought he won 3 of the first 4 rounds, and he started quite well, Cardal, and Dodd looked a bit, you know, he wanted a scrap, and he wasn't getting one at that point. But then I thought, to be fair, Gallagher, towards, you know, from halfway on, was saying to him, you know, as Jim Watt was saying as well, and as probably we were screaming at home, throw some bloody more punches. And he wasn't throwing the punches. The celebrations were poor, and Gallagher really doesn't help himself. He really doesn't, because, you know, last night he kind of was doing the correct work in the corner. Maybe they got the game plan wrong from the outset, which is worse. But he was doing good work in the corner, and then celebrating like a twat afterwards don't help. But yeah, I just feel, again, I feel for Masha Dodd and Scotty Cardal. Maybe Jim Watt asked a question last night, and I agree with him. Masha Dodd's probably just got Cardal's number. Not number in terms of wins, but number in terms of just causing him all sorts of aggro all night. I don't know whether Steve wants to comment on that fight, but if not, we can talk about another robbery in the Fielding fight. That was absolutely ridiculous. To think that Rabras down Fielding, and again, I'm going to stick up for Jim Watt, because every time Fielding went near them ropes, his hands detached from where they were meant to be, i.e. his forehead, and he was getting caught. And yeah, to have Fielding, I mean, Jim Watt last night had Fielding winning rounds 4 to 12, inclusive 4 to 12 every round, apart from round 7. That is off the charts. That, like, the levels that we have dipped to on this Saturday night rubbish is bad. But giving Rocky Fielding between rounds 4 and 12, giving him 8 of those 9 rounds is off the charts, Jim Watt. It's shocking.
Well, I suppose you're right enough what you're saying about the Cardal fight. Some of the rounds were tight to score. I think Phil Edwards looks like he's had 2 rounds that were even there, but looks like with that scorecard. But Steve, did you see in any sort of way that Cardal could win that fight? Was it close enough to even call it a draw?
Well, I didn't score it. Like, I don't score them, to be honest, Andy, so I can't say what my scorecard was. I did get the impression Dodd had won the fight. Everyone on Twitter was saying that they thought he'd won it. The commentary team seemed to think so. I did think that Dodd got it by a couple of points. And it was a good fight, actually, I will say. Good fight, enjoyed it. Good show all round as well. I think I'll back you up on that, Andy. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a lot better than some of the stuff we've been served up, especially last week. As for Cardal, he's a really curious fighter, I think. A lot of people say how good he is. You know, he's good in the gym. He was supposedly good as an amateur, maybe. I don't know. And they say, oh, he's got all the talent in the world. But I think he's just such a curious fighter, because he was doing all these seizure shoulders, try and say that, and you know, in and out of range. But a lot of it was out of range, I thought. And then he stepped in and took a shot. I'm like, well, why are you bobbing around like George Groves? You're expending all this energy, and your stamina's going down, and the gas tank's going to empty, which it did. Paul, I think, spot on. Cardal just stopped throwing, which cost him the fight for me. I thought Dodd won the rounds at the end, especially the 12th round. Cardal's tank emptied. He didn't seem to be too bothered. Gallagher saw what was happening like everybody else was and said you need to knock him out. Joe probably had Cardal winning the fight. He'll probably say afterwards, I don't know. But it seemed to me he just lost. Dodd didn't seem too bothered. He seems like a happy-go-lucky kind of, well, you know, whatever sort of thing. I'm not a judge. He just seems to be happy to be there. As for Cardal, I'm just not sure how good he is. Don't think he's really going anywhere, to be honest. And they could put on a 3rd fight, maybe. We could see it again. Possibly. I mean, you know what? It wasn't too bad, Andy, to be honest. I've seen worse than that week.
I know what you mean, but as you say, it's okay making Dodd miss, but why are you not coming back with your counter punches? You know,
No,
he did hee-haw all night just about. A couple of rounds he maybe kind of spirited and got back into it and stuff, but you know, I don't know if they mentioned about a 3rd fight in the interview afterwards, but he said in the dressing room, I know that much, they weren't looking at a 3rd fight, so.
Yeah, there will be. They'll be taking a 3rd fight, because at the end of the day, if there's a fight, a British level fight or whatever, it's easy to make. Both guy isn't going to be asking for the earth, and it's half decent. They'll make it again, won't they? It's an easy fight, an easy sell. They've had these 2 great fights supposedly already. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't put the 3rd fight on. It just makes complete sense from a promotional point of view. And as for the other fight, just briefly, Fielding, yeah, I thought Fielding definitely lost that fight. Rabras supposedly isn't a puncher at all. I didn't think that he was going to knock him out, and he just hurt him. Every time he backed him up against the ropes, he hurt him. The jab was landing. Rabras' punches were rocking Fielding. Fielding isn't going to be a world champion. Johnny Nelson seems to think this is a slight against him. People seem to think this is a slight. If you're not ending up as a world champion, you've failed. Fielding doesn't need to be a world champion. If he wins a British title or a European title, he's done well. He's not that good. He's alright, he's decent. He won the prize fighter. He can punch a little bit. He's chinny. He might be an exciting fight. He doesn't need to win a bloody world title. Let's just put him in against some domestic opposition and let him fight. That was a decent fight for him against Rabras. You know, Rabras is this sort of journeyman. He's not really a journeyman, is he? I think that's a bit too strong. He's like a gatekeeper. He'll beat you if you're not very good. Whether he gets the decision or not, you'll beat him if you're okay. That was a good opponent for Fielding. That was a decent fight. Didn't think he won the fight, though, to be honest with you. And I don't know what they're going to do with him. I really don't know.
The former European champion, but you were high on Rocky folding for a while, actually, and he almost folded last night. I lost Matty.
Well, I guess he wasn't that high on him.
Obviously no. He must be way getting high. Paul, we want to dive in there, mate.
Yeah, I thought that when I had it 116, 111 to Rabras, again, it just made me sit in question if I know what I'm talking about. I know a lot of people listen to this show think I don't. But
you opened yourself up there, Paul.
I did. No, I know.
Abuse now.
I know it'll come, but I thought let's get it right here. Christopher Brass has basically been given this moniker as a sort of a European level guy who, if you beat him, that means you're pretty much ready for world honours. That's what was the case with Smith. That was the case with Groves. And I thought when he came into the ring, he didn't look that motivated to start. And I thought, okay, this could be a bit of a poor showing from him. And I was massively wrong. You know, obviously he dropped Fielding. Fielding has some technical issues that at this level he's not going to be able to overcome. Obviously, Callum Smith exposed that, and we saw it again last night. I thought that he lost the fight. Again, that's okay. Nothing wrong with losing at this level because he is only going to be English or British at most. Rocky Fielding versus Paul Smith, by the way, is a fight that I saw a few people mention last night, and I think that's actually a very evenly matched fight. Yeah. But again, it was just, another.
Sorry, mate, can I just jump in there on Paul Smith? I thought this guy was meant to have a virus.
Oh, yeah. It cleared up.
What's he doing ringside?
Miraculously, it cleared up just so he could run around and jump in the corner. But yeah, no, I just thought that Fielding, unfortunately, he's limited. And again, like Steve said, that's okay. He'll be at his level. The problem is now he's beaten someone like Rabras. They'll get ideas above the station about what kind of fight to put him in. And there's a danger that he could get absolutely blown away like he did when he fought Callum again. But like you said earlier, the show as a whole, I know we'll get on to the main event in a minute, the show as a whole I thought was good because effectively you had 3 very interesting fights on the undercard and then it was just going to be a case of what Callum would do. And we ended up, I know we haven't really mentioned it yet, but Keeler Duran was a stunning fight. I mean, one of the best sort of 2-round scraps you'll see. And I thought as a step up from what we've been seeing previously on some of the Matchroom shows, I thought it was good. But what's the overall message from the night? I went into work this morning, and I always say my casual manager at work come up to me and said, "Oh, that judging was crap, wasn't it?" And that's the overriding theme. We've had 2 guys who won last night, or 1 guy that drew, 1 guy that won, and neither of them deserve to have that.
Yeah, Matty, you want to get a final word on your man Rocky Fielding?
I didn't see the fight, but I imagine Jim Watt's scorecard was correct.
I can't remember what his scorecard was actually.
But they, again, I know it's fashionable to bitch about them pair, and I know it gets boring. They were next level awful last night. They were just
115, 112 was his card.
Holland is reading for a script. I'm fucking convinced of that. Because Rabras, he said about Rabras isn't a big puncher, then fucking halfway through the fight he says, "Oh, he's a big puncher." I'm saying to myself, what fucking planet have you just walked through?
Do you know what? I can accept Holland being dreadful because, he doesn't have a boxing background and he shouldn't have the job that he does, but he has it. But some of the things that Watt comes out with and the way he can change his mind 4 times in 1 round is just insane. And I don't know, I can't think of any other sport where, apart from probably Michael Owen on BT, where the commentators get absolutely hammered by the listeners or the viewers week in, week out, and they don't lose their jobs. These pair are stealing a living from Sky right now. Jim Watt is just, he was okay in the ITV days, but I think he's just not got it anymore. I think there are people who analyse fights better. Listening to Tony Bellew ringside, I was sat there thinking, oh, quite wouldn't it be good if Bellew was actually on the mic and we could hear his thoughts. I know not everyone's a big Bellew fan, but those 2 were appalling.
You're right. I mean, I actually mentioned Tony last night. He was actually quite good at ringside. There was a fight he did recently, actually. Was it one in Canada?
Was it one of the German ones, was it? He was doing like
Absolutely,
Bremer,
He was quite good.
I've got a good analogy really for the commentators. I'm a casual rugby league fan and I'm still learning the sport. I've only been following it for 3 or 4 years. I think the commentators are quite pretty damn good on Sky, but the lads at work who follow it very closely criticise them, bias this, bias that, which is fair enough. But for the Sky commentators, even the casual observers, of which I had a couple of texts about not only the judging but the commentating last night, even the casual observers of Sky Boxing think that they're shit. And that's the difference. Everyone across the board, casual, hardcore, in the middle, don't care, think they're shit.
The thing is with Adam is Nick Holland believes you're not entitled to an opinion because he's a commentator. He's entitled to his.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough.
He says fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Tony Bellew, you know, we can't commentate, we can't say anything about what he does, but he can be an expert on Everton Football Club, even though he's never played. But after June, though, he'll have played at Everton's ground, so basically he's the Everton manager after June.
The thing is, they're just too. I mean, I don't want to keep going on about it, but they're too fucking biased, right? You're right enough. They need to be put out of pasture. Holland. There's one thing you can be a fan of the sport. The other Adam Smith, actually, he's actually quite good. I know Robinson doesn't like doing it, but I would like to try and get back to fucking Adam Smith doing the commentary again.
Do you not find, Andy? I think sometimes they waver from extreme points of view too much. There's no sort of balance with them. Like you've either had the worst round in the world or the best round in the world. There's no sort of in between.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but there's other things that really piss me off, mate. Is they didn't call punches, for instance. It's a bit like Bob Sheridan sometimes. He just fucking talks shite for sometimes, and there's punches getting landed. Something happens. You can see like maybe the leg go, or he gets pushed back. He doesn't engage as much because he's been hurt by a punch or something. They don't call it. They're too busy talking fucking bullshit.
Sheridan's just a sycophant. He just knows everybody just sits there yapping along.
Yep. You'll notice it any time there's a matchroom fighter against usually a foreign fighter. Usually you'll see what a foreign fighter. See the foreigner gets a fucking couple of good punches in. They never fucking call it, and I'm getting pissed off it.
And I know what I don't like. I know it's obvious, but the clear disregard for any fighter in Britain that's not with Matchroom. Total disregard.
I'm just throwing this out there, but I think personally, look, you got a guy over there that everybody loves, who's pretty congenial, and if you've heard his corner instructions, he knows his shit when it comes to some technical aspects of boxing. I think they ought to get Ricky Hatton on there as a commentator. I think Ricky could definitely bring some good stuff to the show. He's beloved.
Some whiskey.
He's a congenial bastard.
He's been kidnapped. He's been kidnapped, Tony. Ricky Hatton.
He clears his throat every 5 seconds. He's not the man to. He's not the one to go to.
That's when he was doing coke. You got to give him a break. After you quit doing coke, you don't have to clear your throat as much. You're not having to deal with the drip.
Robin Reid, him on.
Certainly needs to be an overhaul there anyway. But just before we overhaul this, Callum Smith smashes Hadala Mohammadi in 1 round. Obviously, he's the upcoming star now, so the middleweight division. I really don't know. I mean, you talk about power, for instance. You know, he's been a distance with Shedge Locker. He's been a distance with what do you call him? Who was the other guy? He's been a distance with Rebras. Sorry, been in the distance with him. So, I'm talking about Callum Smith, but then comes out and blows out Mohammadi, who's never been stopped before and stuff. You know, so.
Right, the first thing you've got to say there is that with all this De Gale comparison, and I think last night there was a hint of I don't know what the word is, not bitterness, but tetchiness between Eddie and De Gale. It was like they're putting Callum above him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And possibly De Gale started that a couple of weeks ago, saying ask Eddie and all that. Anyway, we'll move on. The thing is about De Gale. When he fought Mohammadi, he was 1 injured with his knee. And probably 2 not motivated. So they're the first 2 points to put in there. I was impressed with Callum Smith. I expected him to have a harder time with Rocky Fielding, and he smashed him to pieces. And I expected the knockout last night, but not after 1 round. I mean, Mohammadi came out firing. Callum hit him with that beautiful left hook. He was blocking a couple of blocks, hit him with that left hook, and it's going to sound like Jim Watt, but bang on the you-know-what. And then followed it up. And,
bang on the chin!
Yeah, followed it up, and the referee in his marvellous, absolutely marvellous lime green T-shirt on the referee last night. I want to see more of that from the WBC. But I thought it was very impressive. I got some stick off my nemesis on Twitter last night, but it is a step up in terms of he has won the British title. He has beaten the best British contender at the time. I'm not talking about the ones who've moved on to world level. The best British title contender at that time, blown him out in a round, and now he's blown the European champion out in a round. That is steady progress. I think they're going to hang about a little bit now. I think he probably needs 1 or 2 fights before Badou Jack. And with the possibility of unification between Jack and De Gale, that puts a delay on it. The only problem I've got with that is now he is number 1. The opponents we're going to get between now and the title fight, you know how good they're going to be.
Well, I think the best thing for them to do is really just kind of mix around about European levels just now. I need to try and get their rankings up just now, but you're right. He's going to be out of action. Well, out of top action at least for 9 months minimum. I mean, depending if De Gale or Jack gets injured, or for instance, it could just delay the fight even further. So you just never know when that fight may actually happen.
Yeah, and that's, we'll find out next month with his little brother who, Stephen the same. He got a mandatory slot and has fought pretty much no one, and then after 18 months goes in with someone who's pretty damn decent. The same could happen to Callum Smith if we're not careful.
Well, I'll put it this way. I'm just looking at the box rec just now. I know we didn't use box rec's rankings, but I'll just throw out some names. Quite a few of them here actually are all kind of running about the world title mix or fake title mix. So you've got Sturm, who I think Groves is trying to kind of look at, Jack, Martin Murray, Chudinov. This is what gets kind of crazy. You've got D. Caralis, who beat that fighting boot. So, does he go for like a Patrick Nielsen, that Tyron Ziegler? I don't see those fights happening because, to me, guys like Patrick Nielsen, Tyron Ziegler, these are fighters that Serling need because they've got jack shit coming up there. Nielsen's already lost to Chudinov doing it middleweight, so they need these guys. They need to try and keep the guys ticking over. So I can't see Serling passing up any of their guys anytime soon to fight Callum Smith.
But Smith doesn't need any of those fights now. He's pretty much right where he needs to be.
Is it being tested by a world, some sort of world,
No, but they never are, mate. They never are.
And then they get steps up. I mean, Jack, Donnie will remember this. I crucified Donnie for this, but Jack seems to be making improvements.
Well, he is, but like the thing is that's the thing. There is no. We say this about so many guys who go in at world level. They'll have a good British win. They'll have an average European win. But they won't have beaten it's so rare now that someone fights for a world title after beating a top 10 opponent, not even a top 5, just a top 10 opponent at that weight, because it's so easy, because of all the sanctioning bodies, to manoeuvre yourself into a title shot without actually having to face a real test. Callum Smith, it's unfortunate for Callum Smith that Josh is about right now in a way, because Callum Smith, from a prospect point of view, is every bit as good, if not better. His shot selection, and he doesn't necessarily have the biggest power, but because of his size and shot selection, he will take a lot of guys out. Obviously, the chance of him fighting a guy like Jack, who's just stylistically so different to anything he ever faced, will be a massive challenge. I really want the George Groves fight. I think that would be a brilliant fight to go for, but obviously, if there's world titles on the line, and Groves will probably price himself out of it, I think that Callum Smith will find himself treading water for the next few months up until the point when he does get his shot, if that comes. And I think you're absolutely bang on about the De Gale thing, by the way. James De Gale, if you look at De Gale's last sort of 18 months in Matchroom, he was told probably, we're going to get you the Carl Froch fight at the O2. That didn't come off. He was sent out to America to fight Durrell. Yes, he got big money, but the commitment wasn't made to get him over here. He's fought over in America again. And then the opportunity for him to come and fight at the O2 was there, but Hearn again didn't put up the money to do it. So he probably feels a bit like the forgotten man. And you will start hearing a lot about this now that Callum Smith would beat James De Gale. Not necessarily sure that's the case, but there's some good fights for him, and you can't help but be excited about Smith. And the guy who fought, to be fair, he came out. I was expecting it to be quite a dull 12-round affair, but the guy obviously figured his only chance was to come out firing. For the first 20 seconds, he threw numerous shots, and then he opened himself up to the big shots from Smith. And I thought the referee was a few seconds too late, if we're going to be critical, but his lime green shirt made up for his performance.
Well, De Gale, he shouldn't be complaining about too much. He got almost $3 million to fight Bute, and he got close to $2 million for Durrell. He's had a good fucking year.
I still think there's a lot of disharmony as such with Eddie Hearn and James De Gale, I think.
Eddie was discussing De Gale, wasn't he, as if De Gale was like a Warren fighter or something. I thought at the beginning of the interview it was as if he was nothing to do with him, the way he was, those terms.
Yeah,
it's not just money. Yeah, it's not just money. We all think fighters only care about money, and for 99% of the time that is true. But James De Gale, Olympic gold medalist, he feels like he should be the boy and he should be the name over here. And yeah, he's earning big money fighting in front of 400 people in America, but he wants, in his heart, I think he'd rather be earning that money at the O2, and I think he does feel like he's been sort of sidelined alongside the likes of George Groves and Callum Smith, and obviously Carl Froch at the time.
You want to win there, Donnie?
No. I was just saying that, if the only way that theory makes sense is if there is some sort of disharmony, as you said, between Eddie Hearn and Al Haymon. But if De Gale went over there with Eddie's blessing for those fights and he earned all that money, I mean, he chose to go over there and take fights on foreign soil, but he took them for big money. I mean, there's a benefit and then there's a detriment. The benefit is he makes a lot of money. The detriment is that
It doesn't go in Eddie Hearn's pocket.
Well, yeah, that probably too. And so I mean, so yeah, I mean, if he wants to be a priority back over in the UK, domestically speaking, then he probably has to come back and be willing to fight there, off of the PBC roster and take some fights that may not pay him as much. I mean, I guess that you can't have your cake and eat it too, but I guess time will tell what's going on. But there's certainly some big money fights for him back home, so I'm sure that he can get that done.
Now, just running off the reviews, a couple of big shocks. I don't know if you can call them shocks as such, because you had one guy coming out of retirement after almost a year out. Thomas Adamek knocked out in the 10th round against Eric Molina. He was actually up on the all scorecards at the time of 88-83 before he got knocked out in the 10th round. And Robert Helenius, this is for the vacant WBC silver title, so you just don't know if the winner of that fight was getting slotted in for mandatory to challenge the Povetkin Wilder winner. But Robert Helenius knocked out in 6 rounds against Johan De Jesus. I don't know what it was with the big man, but I'll tell you what, De Jesus, or I'll just call him Duffer, but his jab was on point last night. He's up against a big taller guy, stronger guy as well. I think he broke his nose, Helenius, and then when he got dropped, it just looked like he was spent and nothing left and got dropped like a fucking used condom after shagging like age-ridden hooer. But it was pretty bad. I don't know if I know the guys have seen the knockout. We've not seen the fight, unfortunately, because I think you kind of get fights in Finland pretty easily. But I would probably say if Duffer and Molina had actually beat these guys before they fought Wilder, I actually think Wilder wouldn't have got as much shit for actually fighting these two. But that's just my opinion on the matter.
If anything, this validates Wilder a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, for instance, it's good to see that, okay, they've responded to getting knocked out by Wilder to go on and beat these guys. But the other point of turn is, I don't think it would be wrong to say is it would have been good to see these guys beat the guys they beat last night before they fought Wilder.
Yeah, it would have given the fights that Wilder took a little bit more credibility at the time. But whatever lack of credibility that he had, I think is certainly, it's obviated, if you will, by the fact that he's going over to Russia and fighting Povetkin on his home turf. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Wilder took some shit at the time for these sorts of opponents, but now they look better in retrospect. And now I don't think there's anything anybody could say about Wilder, because he's taken a fight that nobody thought he would take, and he's taken it in Russia in the other guy's backyard. So, Wilder seems to have redeemed himself both by his own actions, but also with a little bit of help from his former opponents yesterday.
And he's going to smoke Povetkin, so fucking smoke it. So suck it, yeah.
Who, Wilder?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I hope you're on that night, actually. Night of that fucking...
that flat-footed, cheating little fucking Ruski commie son of a bitch is going down. He doesn't have the footwork to keep up with Wilder. Him and his fear can suck my cock.
Is that this month?
Povetkin, no, it's May, is it not? Is it May?
Oh, it's May.
Yeah, it's May.
That's gonna be a good
pod. Yeah, don't worry, you'll be alive still.
Right, I think Steve had to pop away for a bit there, so we'll just dive on to Twitter questions. Adam, Team Beefy, Tony Nelson's asking, that was easily the British card of the year, but for once does Eddie Hearn deserve credit?
Oh, God. Well, I'm just thinking now, I don't know whether anyone's taking the mick, but it possibly could. Can't pay-per-view. It possibly could have been the British card of the year. We've been served up some shit, haven't we, this year? Oh my word. I don't even know. It's just the stuff that they get away with. I mean, I think it was decent on paper. I mean, we're not after timing. Callum Smith was a progression fight. Rocky Fielding was a tough fight, and so it went. Keedler and Doran. Eddie did say that was going to be a good fight, and it was. And Cardal and Dodd was, pretty much as expected. I don't think it was quite as good as the first fight. So, I don't know whether the question was taking the piss, but actually, it probably was the best British card of the year.
Well, also, it sounds like, I mean, like I said, I didn't watch, but it sounds like the main complaints were just on the scorecards, which isn't really Eddie's fault. So, I mean, if you put together fights that everybody agrees were good and we're just, a little bit dissatisfied with what the result was in terms of the scorecards, then that's not really on Eddie. It sounds like Eddie put on a good weekend of boxing.
Paul, this is for Joey O. Of the current bunch, who will be the first fighter to leave Tesco Joe?
To leave? There's no one obvious. Not any of the big names, anyway. Purely because he seems to have got something with his gym, whether you like Joe or not. That they are very much a unit. Seeing Scott Quigg and Crawler in the corner last night, and when considering that Crawler's got a big fight coming up, Quigg's obviously come off a very difficult loss, and yet they were all there for him. You expect the brothers to be there, but they seem a very, very close, tight unit. The only person to me that I think maybe could do with a change would be Scott Quigg, not just because he lost, but I just think that the Joe Gallagher style, which is so effective for some fighters, doesn't really suit him. And I think that he could probably benefit from maybe looking elsewhere, but none really. I don't see any of them, and none of the Smiths, Crawler, obviously Morrison coming up. I don't think there's anyone obvious that would leave. I don't expect any to leave in the next couple of years. Only Ad, I think he'll probably look to take on more fighters.
Sure. Matty, this is from Phil's Right Cross. Matchroom honorary special question for the podcast. What's the worst fight in boxing today that would or could generate the most revenue?
Probably Floyd against Broner.
Oh, Floyd. I think Floyd against anybody in that list that Donnie mentioned, like the Charlo brothers, for instance.
I don't know that those necessarily make much money, though. I think Broner does just because he's brash. He can sell a fight, and there's people that want to see him get his ass kicked, so that kind of broadens the pay-per-view base a little bit.
What about Hay versus Shannon Briggs?
Oof.
Let's go.
I think that's funny. I think that's funny. Let's go, champ, or something.
It's not funny. Like, I don't know. See if he ends up on that Scottish card. By the way, I'll be fucking raging.
They had to put him in. Who was that cat that Joshua, that Scottish kid that Joshua
Cornish.
knocked out of couple?
Gary
Yeah,
Cornish.
put him in with. yeah, put Briggs in with him.
Fuck's sake, man. Evil bastard, Steve. Steve, this is for John. AJ's psych compared to the likes of Tyson and Martin is insane. Does that mean he trains harder?
It's psyche, what you mean?
Yeah, I think he's just spelled it wrong, I think. Okay, I'll give you this one then. This is for El Shepo.
I think he's trying to say physique.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I think he trains really hard. An all authentic natural training method. He's probably lifting tyres, throwing dwarves over walls, and I don't know, swimming in sub-zero temperatures. I'd say he's a very hard trainer. Yeah.
How's the cornflakes, mate? You got milk in them?
Oh no, I've got Cocoa Pops actually.
El Shepo, Paul, what was more jittery? An Ian John Lewis stoppage or Doka Sif Singh Marius whack?
Well, considering that, I mean, I don't have much love for the Doc, but it's not the Doc's fault that a tricky name such as Marius Vac, I mean, he'd struggle with John Smith, causes him problems. But no, I think the Ian John Lewis stoppage was classic Ian John, and I've used this analogy before, but when I was learning to drive, my dad said, when you get to a junction, you either go or you stay. You don't do in between. And Ian John Lewis, every time he stops a fight, he jumps in, he jumps out, thinks about it, waves it off, and in the meantime, the guy's either taken 3 shots more than he should have done, or the fight shouldn't have been stopped at that point. So yeah, really poor stoppage from Ian John, and much love to the wonderful Doc Asif.
That's from El Shepo, Doc, just in case you're asking, okay, mate. Next question, Donnie for Joey O. Question for the podcast. No, it's just. No, I'll leave that one. That's a repeat. Stephen Antrobus asks, who wins between DeGale and Smith? Who you got?
Is this to me?
Yeah.
Oh.
I assume we're meaning Callum Smith.
Callum Smith, aye.
I'm still gonna go with DeGale. To me, he's the trickiest fighter in that division. I actually think that if Golovkin moved up tomorrow and fought DeGale, that he'd have a tough time with him. James DeGale is, I think, been proven to be a versatile fighter. He may have a little gas tank problem, but in general, I think he's still the guy in that division right now. I mean, Callum Smith may come to beat it, but I mean, it's a little bit too soon for that right away. I mean, James DeGale is no domestic level fighter. I mean, he's been proven to be a world champion. I mean, he's just a little bit. Callum Smith's still a little bit green for that fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I agree with that, but also a little bit green. Adam Andy is asking, which British boxers do you think should retire this year? My list is Oval McKenzie, Paul Smith, Ashley Theophane, Derry Matthews, Big Enzo, Matthew Macklin, and maybe Derek Chisora.
Decent list. Whoever loses out of Macklin and Rose should retire. If it's Macklin who loses, it's because he's shot. If it's Rose who loses, it's because he's nose busts every time he gets out of bed. I don't think Oval McKenzie will retire this year. I think he's got a lot to offer. I hope that Paul Smith retires on the back of getting sparked out, but walking out the arena. Derek Chisora, I think, still got quite a lot to offer. Derry Matthews, I don't know whether that was in the list, but he should retire. I've had enough of Derry Matthews now. He's actually younger than what I thought he was, but he's been flirting with retirement for a while, Matthews. So yeah, I think he should retire, and I think Frank Warren should retire as well.
Right, next question. Steve, this is from Danny. What weight does Leicester City fight at? Never heard of him.
Leicester City, well,
get banged.
This is obviously off the report today in the Sunday Times that numerous football players, boxers, cyclists, tennis players have been caught up with this British doctor.
The doping thing, yeah.
He's not a doctor. I just heard today he's not actually licensed in the UK, but at least Leicester City, Arsenal, and Chelsea have been named as having used this guy.
Yeah, I read a bit of that on the BBC, actually. There was no boxers named even on the grapevine or anything. No, not that we should, I suppose, be saying that here, but I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that, what he's saying isn't true, but what I'm going to say is this. Maybe he's over-embellishing it because he's trying to impress his young client who's come through the door. I won't name off any names, but I'll just say I dealt with this boxer. This guy scored 35 goals in the Champions League last season. This guy. So
yeah,
he could be talking shit, just probably touting for business. I noticed this same cunt is the person who actually knew the woman had cancer, and basically didn't tell her how bad it was, so he could keep getting fucking drugs off her for like something like, I don't know how much it was, but it was like thousands of pounds he got off this woman. Didn't even tell her how bad her disease was. Fucking prick.
Yeah, until we see something of any great substance, I'm not really sure what the veracity of these claims are, so I'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Veracity?
Yeah, it's a good word for Sunday night, actually. Hey, that won you a few points in Scrabble, I'll tell you that. Donnie, this will be a good question for yourself. Is it time for 5 judges?
Oh, yeah, I've thought about this for a while, and I think, isn't that what they do at the amateurs, or no?
Yeah, they've got 5. Yeah. They've got 5, but I don't know if it's going to still be the same. I know the scoring change is going to be 10-9 scoring, but I don't know if it's still 5 judges. I think it's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the thing is that I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for high-level world title fights where, and you could do it as like a percentage of the two fighters' purses. So if if the purses collectively are over X amount of money, then maybe you get 5 judges. Because the real problem is that it's difficult at the lower levels, and even actually at the top levels. But some world titles are worth a whole lot less than others. It's difficult for the promoters to afford that and still turn a profit, and still satisfy the demands that the fighters have, which of course in the Al Haymon era sometimes are a little bit more unreasonable because they expect more money because he's kind of changing the marketplace with his paydays. So So I mean, yeah, it's a problem to make sure that everybody gets all the money that they want to get. You know, if you're having a fight in a particular place, you're gonna have to fly the judges out. You know, you're not gonna want to have all the judges be from the actual place. So, for instance, usually Las Vegas doesn't want to have 3 Vegas judges. So they'll try to, especially for a big world title fight, so they'll try to say at least fly out someone from the East Coast or from an international location, or sometimes both, you know, just to balance out the judging, and that costs money. So, I mean, yeah, I think for bigger fights, it's certainly feasible. And, you know, if you believe in mathematics, the jury theorem says that the more people that you involve in the decision, the more likely you are to get the right decision. So I wouldn't object to that, and I think it's completely reasonable at the higher levels. I just think that at the lower levels, the money isn't there to justify the expense.
Matty, this is for Luke. He's asking, now that we know Daniel Gale is going up to 168, how do you think he'll fare, and who should he fight?
Oh man,
he's too small for 168, man.
I'm with you. I'm real keen on Gale. I always liked him a lot. He had some damn good fights at 160, but he just, you know, at his best, what he did was move well and got good volume, kind of in and out. I think when you take a size equation to it, I don't think that style is going to function nearly as well, especially when guys like Cotto were putting him down towards the last days of his 157 career, that fight. So doesn't bid well, but goddamn it, I really enjoyed some of the fights he was in. That fight with Barker is one of the more underrated fights of the last 5-6 years. And yeah. Gil got screwed on the cards on that one because he dominated the 12th, and the card that gave it to Barker by a point gave Barker the 12th round, which was bullshit.
Yeah, he really should have won that by all rights. Yeah.
The thing is, he had Barker down in the 7th, I think it was, and then he seemed to take the 8th round off. I was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
Barker won that, yeah.
Yeah, because he took his foot off the gas, and I was quite surprised because Gil at that point was always good for stamina. You know, he could fight.
How Barker got up from that body shot, I'll still never know to this day.
Yeah.
Oh, that was impressive. He wanted to get a title, and goddamn, it's lucky he did because his body just broke the fuck down on him after that fight.
Yeah, the real shame is that Barker never fought Sturm.
Alex is looking to defend himself.
I know, that's what makes it more fun.
Paul, this is from Michael McCarthy. With Mundo winning last night, what's the top 5 worst nicknames in boxing history or current fighters?
Well, I don't really get what the Mundo is Spanish for world, isn't it?
Yes.
But I don't know if that's the reference, or is it because his name's Callum Mundo? I don't get it. Someone who knows him would know what it is. Someone in the chat might put what it means, but there's been, I'm trying to think now, there's been some absolute shockers, haven't there? The Atomic Spider, I think, is pretty much still got to be up there for that guy for Munyai, who's got a quick beat. I think that's probably one of my favourites.
Isaac Ekpo.
Aye.
Grenade!
What about Henry Sugar Poo Buchanan, who once fought Roy Jones?
Oh, I've got one. Anthony Small. Anthony Sugar Ray Clay.
George Jr.
George Jr. Robinson or some shit like that, you know.
Shorten out to Muhammad ISIS.
Muhammad ISIS.
This is one I really like, but it's one that some people really hate. Who was the guy who was like a heavyweight contender in like the early 90s, and he called himself the Ding-a-ling Man?
Oh,
dude, he's cruiserweight.
Yeah,
he fought recently there.
He's the one that knocked out.
Mate, put the bomb in, mate. Put the bomb in.
You got him. He knocked out that David Rodriguez, that heavyweight from El Paso.
Yes, yeah, the guy that was like undefeated, David Rodriguez. You're right. Yeah, he did.
He was on the cruiserweight contender.
I'll find it in a minute, but go ahead. Yeah.
It's Darnell Wilson.
Darnell Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think. I don't know what you think, but when it comes to like nicknames, I always think that not every fighter needs one, and I find them sometimes sort of quite childish when you're writing like. There's a local fighter who fights on like shows I go to, and it's Manny Pac-Man Zaber, and it's like, do you really need? And it's like, what? And his first name's obviously shortened to Manny, but it's like, why can't it just be Manny Zaber? Like another local fighter, Lennox Clark, dangerous Lennox Clark. It's like, well, why isn't he just Lennox? I think nicknames, like When you're thinking of truly great names, Iron Mike Tyson, stuff like that come about because of things that are achieved in the ring. These guys who are prospects who give themselves, like Boy Jones Jr., I mean, fuck me.
What about Anthony the Apache Kakachi?
What about this one? I can't pronounce his surname right. It's George Tadufanafi or something like that. He's basically called Comanche Boy.
Well, that's because he's a Comanche Indian.
I know, he's from that area now, but everybody calls him Comanche Boy because they can't pronounce his fucking surname.
Or someone in the chat's just put Rocky from Stocky Fielding.
Wasn't there a fighter, he was Belgium, I think, called Jackson Bonsu or something from a few years ago? Didn't he called himself with something like Jackson, it translated as sugar the shit, Bonsu or something, or shit the sugar or something like that.
Well, did I miss the script, or is James Mandingo Warrior Kirkland kind of racist?
Well, I just found a couple here, right? So we've got John the Quiet Man Ruiz, right? That's the least intimidating.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The crowd was very quiet during this fight.
That was like Henry. Who said that? Was it Henry Sugar Poo Buchanan?
Yeah, we got him. Yeah.
What else we got? The Ding-a-Ling Man was there. The Quiet Man. The Terminator Roy Jones. That was a new one. Aye. Lousy nicknames. So what we got here? Money. Well, that was Floyd Money or Pretty Boy Mayweather. Next Generation. Wimpy. So that's Paul Williams. Who was the Pink Cat?
The Pink Panther was Jim Rock. He used to come out to the Pink Panther music.
I tell you what, I didn't like actually was Carmel Basilios, the upstate onion farmer.
That's just so like random though. I mean, it's kind
What about this one?
kind of endearing.
This one, Sam Langford, the Boston Tar Baby.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty racist.
No, I don't
Exactly. So you're getting into the more names given by the newspapers at the time rather than the fighter probably choosing that nickname.
I don't think that's what he called himself.
How can we forget Johnny Nelson, the entertainer?
That's a proper oxymoron, that isn't. I think that's what I think. If you can have a nickname, you need to have it really sarcastic, like that. What was that Argentinian guy who had got like 2 knockouts and 50 wins? He should have just been called like the Punisher or something like that.
Oh fuck, aye. He's fighting next week, is he not?
Yeah, he's on Box Nation, isn't he?
Nice rematch.
Yeah, of the fight that he didn't care.
You know what one of my favorite ones was though. I mean, this is in a good nickname category. Was Michael Nunn. Michael's second to none.
Yeah. Or Touch of Sleep. Do you remember Touch of Sleep, Devour Williamson?
Yeah.
And Andrew Sixheads Lewis.
Fuck's sake.
He's dead now.
I'm just looking through some. Franz Bofa, the White Buffalo.
Mitch Blood Green.
Speaking of the white, how about the White Tyson?
Carol Daniels, the Squirrel. Holy fuck.
Who was the White Tyson? Was that Shagayev?
Chagayev, aye.
Yeah.
O'Neill, give him hell bell.
Oh, aye.
I've got a list up now.
This fight with Mormac was fucking awesome.
To be fair, we could spend an hour doing this.
What the heck, we better move on. Cheers for that one, Michael. Next question. Adam says for Boxing Banter, surely Macklin versus Rose would be a better chief support for May 7th instead of 7 PM in a half-empty arena.
Well, I mean, the go-to guy for pay-per-view cards is Georgius Groves, so it doesn't matter who else is on the card as long as George Groves is on the card, fighting a mama's boy or some Scottish undefeated bloke that no one's heard of. Macklin Rose, I mean, come on, man. Put pay-per-view. I mean, we've got a mandatory challenger for Lee Selby, who is off out the door anyway with Uncle Al. And then we've got an apparent plastic world title fight that was announced at 8 days' notice. 8 days! How will people at home eat that shit? How will they eat that shit? A world title on 8 days' notice? Are you joking? Are you actually joking, Eddie? It's not a late replacement. They've actually announced a apparent world title fight on 8 days' notice. Are you joking? It's going to cost you 17 quid. Macklin and Rose shouldn't be on there. Macklin and Rose should be on another show. And yeah, I like the suggestion, May the 7th. It's shit. It's bullshit. Pay-per-view.
Can we play a game called How Many Times Will the Fact That Jamie McDonnell's opponent beat Zolani Tete get mentioned during the fight, even though it was about 5 years ago? And this is what everyone they'll keep saying that, ignoring the fact that McDonnell's fighting basically a flyweight / super flyweight, which is what he was when he fought Tete. And everyone's saying, oh, but he's mixed at bantamweight. Go on BoxRec and see how many bantamweight fights he's had. There aren't any, really. It's an awful. I mean, that fight. But actually, I think whether it deserves to be on the pay-per-view or not, I think Macklin and Rose could be really good because they're both meeting each other on the sort of downward spiral, and their sort of downward spirals are going to meet. And often when that happens, a bit like when you get two prospects, it's like the opposite of that. You actually get a decent fight. McDonnell's fight will go 12 rounds, and Selby Hunter. I really like Lee Selby, but that fight could be order your food and eat your takeaway while that fight's on, because that could be a stinker.
Look, I mean, I could have an opinion on the Macklin and Rose fight, but Matt Macklin is shot. And I'm not talking shot as in pistol, I'm talking actual shot. Matt Macklin is a shot fighter, yeah? But Brian Rose ain't actually shot, but as soon as you touch him in his face, it falls to pieces. So, literally, if you're having a bet on that fight, you're an idiot. Full stop.
What's the over-under set at?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have a look, mate. I'll get it up.
That could be the bet. Because
Macklin looked so. When I was there on press pass pool duty, and I saw him up close when he fought Jason Wellborn. And I mean, I really like Jason Wellborn, but he's he's English level, and Macklin really struggled, to get rid of him, and obviously ended him going to points. But that fight, Brian Rose, who obviously he found his level when he fought Andrade, but he's above Macklin right now for me in terms of where he's at in his career. But like Adam said, he literally lands one jab, and the skin on his nose is like paper, and that's got to be very distracting when you're trying to fight a 12-round fight.
I think Rose found his level before he fought Andrade, to be fair.
Well, he should have got beaten by. I was there for that one as well when he fought. Who did he fight? Yeah, no.
Not Alcine. It was the RG guy, wasn't it?
Martial.
That's the Beaver.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, but he should have lost it.
No, I think that was Brian Rose's best performance and best win, really. But yeah, it was close.
It was his best win, but look, most people in the ring, most people in the arena thought that he'd lost when it came to the cards. But yeah, no, it's the problem is we were promised this like sort of big monster pay-per-view, and I think that the two previous London pay-per-views are on paper better. This fight again, well, a lot of it will come down to what we get out the main event, which I'm sure we'll probably cover later. I think, to be honest, no one that's paying really for this really care what the undercard is, and the fact is that the main event starting at 11 o'clock, people will have to sit through some very potentially average fights. Just because you snick a world title moniker on it doesn't make it a good fight.
My question with Rose is, how can he even do proper sparring? Seriously, with that nose, and we saw what happened when he went in with, I think it was Jones the second time. It was literally within a round or two. How can he even do proper sparring? Headgear or no headgear?
Well, they can use some of the headgear now. They got the crossbar to protect your nose, like when your fight's approaching.
I don't really that great actually. The headgears, in all honesty, but. We'll get moving along here. By the way, just about Adam was talking about like the world title fights and that. I noticed, how the Panamanians decided they were going to clear up all the fucking mess and all this shit. So they had Broner.
I think that was an April Fool.
Yeah, they had Broner at Super Champ. They've got Ricky Burns going to be fighting for the regular title, right? So that's all now going to change because Kloner's been stripped. The title's now vacant. Mendoza's confirmed on Twitter that Burns will fight for the full title. Meanwhile, next Saturday in Germany, Jack Kulkai faces off against Juan Carlos Prada for the interim title.
I thought they were supposed to be putting a stop to this.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They're still fucking producing this shit. But I think I've got one more question, and it's over to Facebook questions. Kevin Watson, Matty, what weight class would Broner be in today if he had his cornflakes with full fat milk instead of water when he was a kid?
What?
What weight class would Broner be in today if he had his cornflakes with full fat milk?
It's instead of water as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got shit rough when you're jabbing water in your cornflakes, dog.
It's my dad used to eat cornflakes with fucking a tin of lager.
Son of a bitch. I'd like to think that, he'd probably be somewhere between him and his father, so what do you have, like a 240-pound potential there? I don't know.
I'm surprised I've seen his old man on ringside actually after the fight on on Friday night, and I'm surprised the ring took the
His dad's ass is so fat. He has to get all 3 fucking seats.
He's got to be
of a plane row.
He's got to be $5, man. He's got to be at least $5.
His dad's ass is so fat. He fell in the Grand Canyon and got stuck. His dad's ass is so fat. He jumped up in the air and got stuck.
His high school photograph was taken from a fucking satellite.
What the? He's like,
his dad is so fat. His blood type is Rocky Road.
Jesus, man. He's fucking
motherfucker. He's got to have Dutch doors in his house or anything. Because how the fuck can he fit through a doorway without Crisco? Tell me. You tell me.
He'll need to go about with a tub of Vaseline every time, start greasing these fucking hips and that so he can get
Andy, you just had 150 viewers, man. Your dad's ass is so fat. Jokes obviously are getting results.
250. Jesus Christ.
It's gone down now.
Whatever. Son of a bitch.
250. Very sick. Right, Steve, you got the Facebook questions there, mate?
I've got them here. Excuse me. I'll direct one at each person, Andy, to keep it going, yeah?
His dad was baptized at SeaWorld.
Okay, Andy.
He had to be a thinner man at one point because he had to have been able to procreate Adrien at some point in time. I can't see the physics of how that man is getting his dick inside of anything at this point in time. Anything.
Someone's got like a challenge.
The problem is my rolls of fat in front of my cock.
Sorry,
right.
Steve.
Yeah, no, you're okay. Okay, we've got a few questions coming in on the Facebook page. Thanks to everyone who's handed them in. Adam, first one for you from Liam Wynn. Was the referee slow to step in on the Smith finish as his opponent took 2 or 3 clean, sickening shots to the head, especially given last weekend with Nick Blackwell?
No, I thought about this. It's an international ref. You've got to, no. The short answer for me is no. I think he stepped in at the right time. To be fair, yes, there was a couple of punches where his head was rolling about, but there was only the first 2. And then the next engagement by Callum, then there was 3 where his head was rocking about and he was leaning on the ropes, and that's when the ref stopped in. I thought that was a correct stoppage.
Thanks very much, Adam. Andy, question for tonight's panel. Does Masha Dodd have a Joshua face tattoo on his arse, or is there another reason why Hearn enjoys shafting him so much?
Yeah, what's the story with that young guy? Did anybody catch Spike's fucking response to that?
Yeah.
One?
It's a troll, is it, the whole thing, apparently?
He's trying to get an interview and that. The wee boy's like, aye, no problem. To answer your question, aye. I mean, Eddie Hearn straight up AJ's fart box, definitely up there. He's got a self-contained flat up there, guaranteed.
That was from Richard Swig, by the way, and he also adds one in which Alex would like. He says, P.S. Fuck Joe Gallagher. So thanks very much, Richard, for that one. Paul, we had one in from Callum Ennis, first-time questioner. Is there such a thing as a European level anymore? Heard it mentioned on the pod a few times, but with all the interim international belts up for grabs and poor fighters like Mohammadi holding Euro belts, does it really still properly exist?
Well, I think the problem is there's the separation of the European belt. So there's the real European title and the EBU. Effectively, you've got two people claiming, or 2 sanctions claiming to be the genuine European title. And then you've also got the fact that people don't want to go that route anymore because, like you say, you can fight for these international. There were a few of them on the line last night. These international or intercontinental belts. You don't always get very strong European champions. It's quite easy for guys, particularly from the likes of Italy and Germany, to pick up these belts because fighters in Britain, which is still the strongest country in Europe for boxing, don't have any real interest in it. I think that even the likes of simple, sort of very well, I'm trying to get words out here, titles like the English and British title are becoming less and less significant. So the European title is going the same way. You don't need to have that to fight beyond that level. And European level doesn't really make any sense because if you're in a division where Europe is weak, then the fact that you could be European champion at European level doesn't really mean anything further than that. And I think, is it still the sanctioning bodies? I know which ones. It's WBO, who if you win the European title, they give you a top 10 ranking.
WBC always did that, I think, yeah.
Yeah, which obviously makes sense to go that route, but if the others don't do it, and the sanctioning bodies, like I say, 5 of their top 15 positions are filled by silver titles and intercontinental belts, then the European loses its value to promoters and to fighters.
Yeah, I think sometimes the intercontinental and international titles are a good way of ducking the British title if there's a particularly difficult domestic opponent as well available as well. So, final question, actually, if I've missed anybody as well on the Facebook page, apologies, but I find it difficult to negotiate that sometimes with all the messages and notifications and stuff. Final question for either Donny or Matty. It's a question about Vaseline from Liam Wynn. Is there any reason why the Vaseline used in America has more adrenaline included than the Vaseline used by boxers in Europe?
I was waiting to see where you
Donnie is against anal sex. He knows nothing about Vaseline.
Unfortunately, oral sex. It's oral
chemistry, so I can't help.
If anybody can answer this, then good luck to you.
Well, wait. I mean, so is my understanding.
Oral sex.
It's my understanding that they don't use adrenaline 1/1000 in Europe. That they use what is it? Is it throm? Well, we use thrombin and adrenaline 1/1000, and they use something else over there, and I don't know what it is. Maybe one of you guys can help me out. But
I'm just thinking Vaseline throbbing and adrenaline right now. It really makes a fun story.
Yeah. It is. And then what is it? Is it Avitine? Maybe is that what's prominent over there? But it seems like Vaseline isn't used so much. Usually, what they do is they do the thrombin, the adrenaline 1/1000, and they cover it over with the Vaseline to make the face kind of like slick, and I guess to kind of seal that stuff in there and let it do its thing, stopping the bleeding. But I don't know. I don't know the differences. I used to know it at some point, but it's escaping my mind right now.
Well, thanks anyway, Donny. That was an admirable attempt. On the subject of Vaseline, I was just thinking. I remember on a call, it's not one of those type of stories, Matty. On the Carl Frampton undercard a while back, Eamon O'Kane was fighting a Lithuanian, and the Lithuanian's corner, halfway through, he went over with a cut to the corner, and the corner put Vaseline on the cut, even though the round hadn't ended, and the referee took a point off him, and the official reasoning was illegal use of Vaseline. So that was that was a new one on me anyway. But that's all the questions from Facebook, Andy. Thanks again to everyone who's handed them in. And if you want to like the Facebook page, that would be very much appreciated. We're about 20 likes off 2,000. So
I thought they'd go dry in Lithuania.
Right, Belly of the Week. Now, quite a few nominations this week. It's been gold actually. Especially if you want to take Cloner and Floyd into the equation. But this first one goes to Billy Joe Saunders, and it's basically like glad that you're paying £12 a month for Box Nation when he makes comments like this. And I'll play it just now, but it's considering what Box Nation have since then produced for the next upcoming schedule. £12 a month doesn't seem too bad when with that shit you get on Sky, I suppose. But anyways, here's what Billy Joe Saunders had to say on was it Max Burzak? His name is here. Here it is.
Let's face it. I'm gonna tell the truth. Burzak is a tough game, but he's rubbish. Yeah, he is. He's shit.
So there you go. He's tough, but he's shit. Floyd Mayweather gets nomination. This is basically the build up to obviously Friday night's fight there, and he says here, you got to realise with Mayweather Promotions, we take our time and we build superstars. I'm still waiting, guys. I'm still waiting. Amir Khan. Now this is going to get a few. The Muslims offended, I think, but fuck it. He made a tweet this morning as a picture of him and his brother in a mosque being ready to pray and stuff like that, and he says here, how can you trust one who doesn't pray? If he abandons his maker, what makes you think he won't abandon you? Right?
For fuck's sake.
See if you're an atheist, by the way, that's you fucked right off the start.
I hope Canelo knocks his head off. Fucking prick.
You just lost Paul as a fan, oh well.
Next nomination goes to Joe McDonald for announcement of the scorecards of Scotty Cardal and Masher Dodd last night. Basically, he starts off with the 2 draw cards. It goes 1-14, 1-14, and then you're then expecting, right, okay, it's going to be different scorecards. It then goes 1-14, 1-14 again, so then you know straight away you've got majority draw, right? He reads out the next scorecard and he finishes off by saying the result is a technical draw. Now, did I miss the fucking doctor stop the fight somewhere? Did the fight get stopped before 4 rounds or whatever? No. How's it a fucking technical draw then, you mongtard? McDonald's went way. It's the way he goes on about the world championship. He does like that world thing for like 5 minutes without a breath. I'm like, shut. He just destroys some of these introductions sometimes, and it's fucking really poor. Just it's shit like that, just wee things like that. You knew straight away it was a majority draw when he mentioned the second scorecard. It should have been the score. Phil Edwards' scorecard first, 116, 114, and then he should have said the next.
Yeah, that would have been better, wouldn't it?
It would be more suspenseful, Phil Edwards had it 116, 114. Victor Loughlin and Marcus McDonald had it 114. So you leave it hanging for a bit and then say 114. It's majority draw, but no, he fucks it up. It's a wee bit like Mark Burgess that way. Joe Gallagher for saying Liam Smith Kell Brook can happen and they would take maybe between 1.5 and 2 million quid for the fight. Aye, okay, Joe. Sky Sports having 2 nominations this week. They says that McDonald is the IBF champion and Callum Smith is an IBF final eliminator, whilst also saying that Jimmy McDonald will take on or defend his title against Tomoki Kameda. So Jamie's got a third fight with Tomoki Kameda coming up. Mike Coppinger. This guy, anybody know Dusty Harrison, the boxer from America?
Yeah.
No. Anyways, he basically sent a tweet to Mike Coppinger saying, "You come to the fight, big guy." And his response was, "No, but I'll be watching on TV. Good luck and all the best with the fight." Dusty Harrison responds, "Disappointing. Some people were looking forward to seeing you there. Invite some of your George Mason friends for me." Mike Coppinger then comes back, "Is that a threat of some kind? I sure hope not. Your friends seem like class acts from their language." Ooh, language offends me. Faggot. Coppinger's a fucking real knob jockey though, man. This name will annoy a few people. Carol Lander. Now, Carol Lander. Now, you maybe see this. He's one of these middle class born wannabe tough motherfuckers. Now, if you go to his Twitter page, well, it's been deleted now. Actually, I'm not fucking surprised. But during the week there, he was basically saying that boxers, well, obviously going on about the black belt situation, boxers should not get NHS care or treatment in the event of a brain injury, right? Protector at NHS. If anybody knows the health service in the UK or works in the local authorities will know just how oversaturated they are with managers, NHS. And you wonder why people want to fucking privatise it for whatever reason. It's because you've got too many fucking managers involved. And guess what this Carol Lander's position was? Founder and director of CJ Lander Associates Limited, okay? He is also undertaking a key learning and development role with an NHS Direct, developing and delivering key performance management training to introduce a balanced scorecard and performance management systems. Now, the health service is meant to be a fucking hospital. I don't give a fuck about performance management systems, okay? Or about getting your wee PIs and that for your fucking government returns every fucking month. You are a fucking disease, and I am your cure, and I'm telling you to fuck off from the NHS because you're nothing but a fucking bleeding of the resource. So fuck you. Nick Blackwell deserves to have his fucking operation, deserve to get fucking care like any other fucking boxer who pays his fucking taxes, just like the cyclists who got fucking killed recently. Yeah. They deserve to get the NHS treatment if they were fucking in this country. Same with rugby players, NFL players, and any other cunt who pays his fucking tax. Lander, you cunt muscle. And Amir Khan gets
pays his stamp like everybody else, surely. I mean.
Eh?
Sorry, Andy, I was just saying Blackwell pays his stamp like everybody else, so.
Yeah, exactly. And final nomination for me goes to Amir Khan, saying he's still undecided on the Golovkin fight. Now, the quote is via Fight Hype. Donnie, you'll look and love this one, by the way. This is Amir Khan. "I want to fight the best names in the world. At the moment, Kell Brook doesn't belong there, so that's why the fight didn't happen. If you compare the two names, Kell Brook and Saul Alvarez, it shows you why I'm fighting the likes of Alvarez rather than Kell Brook. It's hard to talk about the fighting Gennady Golovkin. Once I beat Canelo, I think he will sit down with my team and see where we go from there. Look, this fight is at 155. 155 could be the best weight for me. I've never fought 155 before, but we always sparred at 155, where I've hurt my sparring partners, I've knocked them down, and owning my sparring partners. So Amir Khan thinks there's a 155 weight division nowadays. Congratulations, Amir.
Well, so do a lot of other people like Cotto and Canelo. So, but
so that's a nomination. I've got what you got, guys.
Well, what about? Did you forget that one? I liked the one that Irish guy, Irish stoner, whoever tweeted us with AJ like walking off the set of the gloves are off thing, like doing a little bob and weave and throwing some punches. Like, that was pretty humorous, especially when Charles Martin just walked off like, okay, we just finished a TV show. It's like, I don't know. I mean, that kind of actually made me think he was in his head a little bit, but I thought that was funny. I think that at least deserves the nomination.
Okay. Any other nominations, guys?
I've got a few, Andy. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine,
Can you hear me, Andy?
Aye.
Right, I've got a few. We've been sent in a few. First of all, we got sent one from Thomas White during the Cardal Dodd fight. Jim Watt apparently said, I always think it's a good sign when a fighter sells a lot of tickets. So maybe, I think we were discussing that last week, weren't we, about ticket sales equating to people getting slots on cards and stuff. So that's from Thomas White. Andrew Hipkins has sent us one as well. Apparently Eddie was giving away free tickets the morning of the fight or the morning before due to poor ticket sales. If you spent £40 plus in Scott's Menswear in Liverpool store on the morning, you got a pair of free tickets to Smith Mohammadi. First come, first serve, that was. So that was a pretty good deal there. Also, we got one from Dippo Osho on the Facebook page, and it's fair to say he's not a fan of Adrien Broner. Bellew of the Week nomination for Adrien the fucking Belen Broner, saying, calling out Floyd Mayweather and saying he won't be 50-0 if they fight. The whole guy's life is a Bellew of the Week. So Dippo's laying hard on poor AB. And finally, one for myself, Andy. I'm going to throw in the Spike commentary team. They were sycophantic nonsense. It was pretty disgusting to hear the way they were defending Broner and giving him all the excuses of the book. So, the Spike commentary team as well.
Team. Hey, did anybody actually catch Antonio Tarver going on about I'd pay to see that? And just you don't hear something in the back of your head just saying that his missus would be saying, no, you won't. So, any
I've
other
got a couple,
guys?
Andy. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul Highland. Everyone on Twitter. Paul Highland Dub 24. Everyone going mad because I said Special K Brook versus Super Judah is a huge fight in the US. Get it made, Eddie. I want to see Zab Judah versus Kell Brook. What was the other one? Oh, that kid who had the tattoo of Joshua that looks like Junior Wells. Oh. That's brilliant. His name.
It already says IBF World Champion. So now if he fucking gets knocked out by Martin.
His name is Ryan RWCFC15 on Twitter. That's a brilliant one. Because
can I add to that as well as if anybody wants to follow up on that, go check Spike O'Sullivan's Twitter account and see what he did to that kid. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, they're mad too.
There was one actually, Macaulay McGowan last night. I think he's one of Frank Warren's fighters. He says that Callum Smith would destroy De Gale, fucking all these other guys, and Andre Ward in one round. Obviously taking the piss, I would think. We'll put you in there for amateurs for being funny there.
Adam.
Yeah?
Adam, just regarding Paul Highland, just in case, I didn't know if you knew or not, but he's actually an ex-fighter himself, Paul Highland. There's the three Highland brothers. He's a brother of Patrick, who's fighting, he's he for Gary Russell, isn't it, next month, I think?
Yeah.
And there was Eddie Highland as well. Paul was an ex-fighter. He actually fought Willie Casey for the European title in 2010 down in Limerick, so he's not just a random punter. I just wanted to throw that in there.
He's still getting nominated. I don't give a shit.
Right, so
that was fine.
Nominations are Billy Joe Saunders, Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, John McDonnell, Joe Gallagher, Sky Sports, Mike Coppinger, Carol Lander, cunt, Amir Khan again, Jim Watt, Eddie Hearn, Adrien, No Problem Cloner, the PBC team, and Paul Highland and Macaulay McGowan.
Can we put another nomination in for Curtis Woodhouse tip service for impressively getting 14 tips in a row wrong, just for £75 for 6 months?
Right, okay, so
Is
Adam,
that
who
a
gets
real
your vote?
thing? Is that a real thing, now?
What's that?
No, I can shed a little bit of light on that. I've seen the results. I've not have them verified, but I think but on the horses they've done bloody okay, to be fair. Curtis Woodhouse has basically got a contact somewhere in the sporting/racing world that tips horses, and he's all right. But I still ain't paying because it'll fall off a cliff as normal. My nomination my vote goes to Sky Sports for the Jamie McDonnell article, where on the same screen, as mentioned by Andy in the nomination, it said got WB, Panamanian and IBF mixed up on there. It was brilliant, superb. It was a copy and paste job, went wrong.
Donny?
Well, an honorable mention also came in from the YouTube chat. Apparently someone suggested Asif for being a pedo.
We can't put that one in, man. He's not a pedo, for fuck's sake, so I hope
not. No, but I think I got to go with the guy who got the IBF World Champion AJ tattoo on his leg prior to next week's contest. That's a pretty good one, and of course he could actually have the unique distinction of winning it twice in a row. If for some reason AJ loses next week, he's got to go get that shit lasered.
What was that guy's name again, Adam? That young boy?
Yeah, his name was Ryan something.
Ryan.
His Twitter handle, if you want to go and troll him, everybody. His Twitter handle is at RWCFC15, and he's got an excellent selfie as his profile picture. And actually, I can give you a live update of Ryan's last tweet was to Dillian White that included Anthony Joshua. Don't think you want to get sparked out again, do you, kid? # shut up. He's got to win this, lad. Make him win.
Who's wore Canelo on Twitter on our chat? Is it Steve? No, Tommy.
No.
I see he's having some problems with the sound. Right, Steve, who gets your vote, mate?
I was going to go for Ryan, but I suspect Ryan might be a spoof. It could be us who's being trolled by him. I'm not sure that he's the genuine article, so I'm going to go for Broner for me this week.
Yes, that's what I want to hear. Matty's left, I think so. Paul, who gets yours?
Well, I'd have gone for the tattoo guy, but I'm going to go for Amir Khan for personal reasons.
Amir Khan. So it's kind of tied. So I think it's been to me. Anybody else no voted yet? Dave and Matty no back yet. So I think it's only fair, Steve, that we do give it to age-ridden, no problem broker, because he lost his title on the scale, so it's good to get a title back again. So well done, age-ridden. Congratulations, sir. Right, what we're running almost 2 hours. Let's see. 1 hour 40. So we're doing not bad. Right. So fight schedule for next week. We've got quite a few fights spread over.
Yeah, but there's only one that matters, though.
We've got a card from Germany. We've got the card from Russia, and we've got a card from obviously America and one from the UK. Manny Pacquiao stepped in the ring for potentially the last time anyway against Timothy Bradley. I know some of you guys aren't up for the fight. Me, I'm not too down on it. You know, if anything, I was a fan of Pacquiao style, and I've always felt like Tim Bradley was underrated. Arthur Abraham probably will come up short this time against Gilberto Ramirez.
Wait, is that next weekend?
Yep.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was 2 weeks ago. Okay. Wow,
Oscar Valdez against Yevgeny Gradovich. And there was another fight on there we're kind of looking at, but no.
Yeah, there's actually another decent one on there. I forget what it is.
Yeah, from the UK, Charles Martin against Anthony Joshua, Lee Selby against Eric Hunter, Matthew Macklin, Brian Rose, as we've discussed. George Groves against my boy David Brophy, one Brofs. And obviously the card from Russia. So Germany, you've got Jack Kulkai, Eric Koling, Tyrone Ziegler, Maurice Weber, and you've got that rematch between Edward Tronovsky against Cesar Chano, or Censar, I can't pronounce his surname. But anyway, guys, what he's looking forward to next week. Because obviously somebody's going to be shiting on Bradley against Pacquiao, obviously. Steve, what you looking forward to?
I'll be looking forward to. I didn't realise Abraham Ramirez was next week. Actually, like Donny, I thought that was a few weeks away. So I'm looking forward to that. Is that televised over here by any chance?
Which one is that, mate?
Well, it's on the undercard of
Ramirez.
Bradley, so if that's televised over there.
Oh, is that on the right? Flip me, yeah. Casual Central here. I didn't even realise that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not too bothered about Pacquiao Bradley. I can hear myself talking back, by the way, and definitely looking forward to Joshua Martin. I thought Martin would give Joshua a bit of trouble with, he's a big dude, seems like he can punch a bit, but I've been watching back on those YouTube videos, the ones that look like they've been taken by somebody's phone at the back of a dark gymnasium, and I just think that this guy, I think Joshua's going to knock him out in about 2 or 3 rounds, man. I really would love to see Martin put it on him and it'd be a great heavyweight fight, but I fear for him. I just think he's a bit open, and unless he's going to show us something, pull something out the locker, then it's going to be easy meat for AJ. So I am definitely looking forward to that fight, though. It's intriguing. It's not the heavyweight championship of the world, we all know that, but it is an intriguing fight. It's an exciting fight. Martin brings the unknown factor, I think, to the ring, because we just don't know if he's going to step up or not to this type of level.
That's the thing. It's because he's at Southpaw, I just wondering if he can get AJ, if he can draw him in and just kind of land him with the fucking with the lead left.
Yeah, I think so.
If he can get him with a left hand, you just never know. Heavyweight fight. I mean, the guy's a big dude, there's no question about it, but you just never know if he can land that straight left hand down the pike.
Got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose, Martin, has he really? Let's be honest. He's coming over. They're selling the title. They're handing the title over in exchange for cash, as far as they're concerned. If he knocks AJ out, bonus, he get another few fights.
What's he getting for us? 4 million, I think he's getting for his fight.
Yeah, upwards of 3 at least, I think.
Wow. Sure. On his part.
Well, I want to go back. Obviously, we can discuss whatever fight you want to discuss. You can discuss it. But one thing I'm really wanting to talk about is the Bradley Atlas relationship. Now, I think Bradley's going to pull this off, and it's going to be a shame for him if he does pull it off, because people are not going to give him the respect he deserves. And Tim Bradley, in my opinion, I'm going to go. He's a Hall of Famer, in my personal opinion.
By a long stretch.
By a fucking mile, mate. I said that before he even fought Pacquiao the first time. He had one of the most underrated resumes in the sport at that time. I know we can all go on about the Can situation, for instance, but there was two different situations there. We'll not discuss that. But I've just finished reading Teddy Atlas's book, and I'll be honest, if what he says is 100% true in that book, I would love to train with Teddy Atlas, because this guy sounds like my kind of dude. There's no shit with him. You get it straight to your face. If he's not happy with you, he tells you. And if you don't like it, then fuck it. It's a bit like my attitude. I've got an opinion, I'll give it. If it's right, if it's wrong, I don't care. It's my opinion, and that's it. But Atlas, man, this guy, I just think he reads fighters so well. I know he's got his silly acronyms and his silly comments and stuff like that, but that's just who he is, and I'm starting to kind of like Teddy a wee bit more of that. And I think Bradley, will probably see a different side of Bradley this time. I think we're going to see a Bradley who's going to be trying to kind of work on the inside, but working angles. He's going to try and pivot off his lead foot and dig the body, because we all know, I think Pacquiao was weak at the body. The chin's probably been cracked now as well. But you just know, if Bradley wins this fight, he's not going to get the respect, because if he wins the fight, then he's going to be Pacquiao's over the hill. If Pacquiao wins, well, people are going to say, well, he beat Bradley twice anyway, so what was the fucking point? So it's not a no-win situation here, but hopefully Timmy pulls it off. It might end Pacquiao for good at that point. I don't know, but I actually want to see Bradley win the fight, and I think he could do it. Certainly, if Atlas has had a wee bit more time with him, chance to refine him and stuff. So, and plus, Atlas's attention to detail is tremendous. So that might be the telling factor in this fight. I don't know.
I think Bradley will win the fight, and I'm going to back Bradley as well. But you can get Bradley at 9-4, over 2-1 to beat Pacquiao.
Wow.
Pacquiao, as he recovered from his injury, I still claim, and did at the time, that the X Factor went as long ago as 2012 when he got sparked by the Mexican Juta. He's obviously well, he did. The X Factor's gone since then, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The X Factor went last night. He didn't show a whole lot against Floyd, as we know, injury or no injury. I don't really care. I think he's too old. I think Bradley's going to be too. I know Pacquiao's been fighting at welterweight for a long time, but I think Obviously, Bradley's the bigger man. We've got the Atlas improvement. I think this is made for Timothy Bradley, and 9-4. Honestly, I think that is decent value. I think that's cracking value. I really do.
I don't agree. I think that Pacquiao's beaten him twice. Well, in theory, he's beaten him twice. I thought the first fight was completely conclusive. The second fight was very conclusive. And despite the fact that he's older and as good as Bradley is, I just don't think that Tim Bradley has the style to beat him. They've fought for 24 rounds, and I think I'll probably give him Bradley 6 or 7 of those rounds. I don't see that much has changed in the meantime. I still think Bradley can be open to someone with Pacquiao's hand speed, even if Pacquiao isn't quite what he was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Donnie?
I'm going with Bradley as well. I just think that with the change in trainer and he's like, not only that, but it takes a certain type of fighter to work with Atlas. You need like a pupil who's like willing to basically do anything.
Yep, you've basically got to be subservient to him. You've got to basically bend over and take up the ass. If he tells you, you do it. Oh, I'm serious, man. It's his way or no way. I'm fucking telling you.
Yeah, no, it really
I
is.
think it's the way it's going to be with these top end guys. Actually, you need someone who's just because Atlas is a man of principles. You know, it's not about money for him. I mean, he's walked away in some fucking serious dosh in his time.
Yeah. No, the thing is that he's very much like a real. And like the thing is that when these fighters start to get big, and this happens a lot in a lot of sports, but when basically the fighter starts making really, really, really big money, it's like well, they have trouble listening to people in the same way because they're not used to be ordered around.
Cloner.
And so, but Bradley is always, he grew up with his father as his trainer for a while before Diaz, and so, I think that he's used to that, and he doesn't mind it. I think he thinks, oh, this is good for me. I'm going to do what Teddy says. It seems like they have a pretty good match in that respect, and so when you have the right type of pupil and the right type of trainer, I think that relationship can be good, and I think it could be good for him, particularly in this time of his career. With Pacquiao having been faded a little bit, having been out of the ring now for about a year, I just think it's Bradley's time, and I think he's going to put everything together for one night. And it's unfortunate that he probably won't get the kind of credit that he deserves, but I think he will in fact deserve it, even if some people don't want to give it to him. But I think he's going to pull it off this time. And also, I didn't think that at the first time I watched it, I thought that first fight was like really wide, but I think as a lot of people did, but then as you rewatch it and things like that, I still actually give that first fight to Pacquiao, but by a much smaller margin.
I think it's close, yeah.
I watched that fight twice, and when I watched it live, I had it 118, 110, and that was with American commentary. When I watched it back the day of the podcast, I actually said, right, okay, I'm going to score this with the sound off, and I was looking at it, trying my best to score around for Bradley, and I still had it 116, 112 for Pacquiao.
Yeah. Which is still like a semi-close fight, but whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it wasn't as wide as some people thought it was. It wasn't, the absolute worst decision, even though we were calling it that at the time.
It fucking was a robbery, man.
All right. It was bad, but it wasn't. I've seen worse, is what I'm saying. But anyways, the point is that Bradley did have a bum ankle at that particular time. He wasn't fighting in the right way. In the rematch, he completely abandoned the game plan.
Fought the wrong fight.
Yeah, he fought the wrong fight. He tried to knock Pacquiao out, which he was never going to be able to do. He's just not a big puncher. But I think this time, he's going to pick a game plan, and I think Teddy Atlas is going to make sure that he sticks to it. And I think he, has this respect for Teddy that he's gonna do what he says. And I think that Teddy Atlas will certainly give him hell in the corner if he doesn't. So. I think that if Bradley really does box to the right game plan, I think it's his time to shine. I think it's his time to win this fight and sort of carry the mantle from Pacquiao.
Anybody else want a pick on this? I don't know if Steve, did you take a pick on this one, mate?
Yeah, I haven't thought too much about it, Andy. I think probably Pacquiao. No, I'm not really bothered, to be honest with you. I'll go for Pacquiao. I haven't really got an awful lot to say about it. Yeah, Teddy's good. Bradley seems to have took to him. I didn't think it would last. It has done, so fair play to them. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Bradley got the win. Pacquiao has definitely faded, lost the X factor, as I think Adam said, but I think he still might have enough to do it, so I'll go for Pacquiao tentatively.
Donna, you seen any much of this Eric Hunter chap that's fighting Lee Selby next week?
I haven't. I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen much of him.
Anybody seen him at all? I need to try and dig up some footage on him before next week, so I kind of like give
I've
some sort
seen
of
him fight. I can't remember who, Andy, years ago on ESPN. He's been going a while now, so I mean that.
You look at his record and you wonder how on earth he's got in the position that he is.
I'm looking at some of his fights. The only name I recognise really is Jerry Belmonte's. Antonio Escalante. Did he not fight Cloner? I think that might be in the fight that I saw actually.
Yeah. Was that when Cloner messed Escalante about with the weight, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, it might have been that fight.
No. That was Escobedo.
Escobedo,
Sorry.
Getting your Escalantes and your Escobedos mixed up here, boys.
Sorry. Renny Alvarado. I've seen that name kicking around a few times.
But nothing that makes you think that he's ready for not just ready for he's been picked out at the bottom part of the rankings. He's the mandatory challenger. I just don't get it.
He lost
Looking
by
at his
DQ to
record.
Mike Oliver. That's interesting. I know Mike's from Connecticut.
Just to interrupt you, sorry, I've got Dave the Hater back on the line. Dave, we're just covering the fights for next week. I don't know if you heard us or heard us talking about Manny Pacquiao, Bradley. You feeling this fight, mate? And give me your picks on for next week in the UK fights as well.
I can't believe we're already up to what is possibly Manny Pacquiao's final fight, but this is the third time I'm going to pick Tim Bradley to beat Pacquiao, and I think it's the only time I'm going to be right. I just think Pacquiao's lost too many steps at this point, and Bradley's maybe the best he's ever been under Teddy Atlas. I think he'll work the body. That's what he should be doing. I did like his unusual game plan in the last fight because he just went balls out and went for that knockout that Marquez got. He never got it because Pacquiao was a more cautious, evolved fighter who respected the counterpunching and stayed back. And the second fight was, I thought, about twice as good as the first, so maybe we'll get another good fight the third time.
One thing as I was mentioning, Dave, I don't know, I think I was talking to you in the forum, I thought it was maybe you and Fuego actually, about Teddy Atlas and the big change he might have in Bradley. From what I'm seeing in the footage, I don't know if it's just for the cameras or whatever, but I think they're going to be looking to capitalise on any inside fighting. So if Pacquiao leaps in, Bradley's going to try and pivot, I think, and just try and rip the left hook to the centre of the body, I think. That's the way I'm seeing it, but you never know. It's totally different under the lights and when the fight actually happens with the crowd shouting you on and stuff. Incidentally, though, anybody who wants to go to this fight, there is a lot of tickets still left. If you go to, is it Ticketmaster? I go to Ticketmaster and you'll find a shitload of tickets left, and there's like £50 tickets, $50 tickets, kicking around about there.
Really?
Yep.
For this one, or for
there's only for the Pacquiao fight, it's like I think there's only like 3 or 4 sections sold out in the entire arena. Yeah.
It's sort of to be expected considering the opponent. I mean, we've seen it twice before. We've had a similar result twice before, and a lot of people were hoping for a Crawford fight or even a Broner fight.
I would actually pay money to watch Pacquiao fuck up Cloner like.
Oh, that would be the best retirement party ever.
Oh, what? It's better than sex, man. Honest to God. But okay, Dave. AJ against Charles Martin next week. You think your boy will pull it off?
Well, I wouldn't really call Martin my boy. Well, yeah, he is my guy. I mean, in this fight, I will certainly be supporting him, and I've actually never seen him fight before, aside from Glaskov, which was not really a fight. But I think he has a better chance than a lot of people are giving him. I think that he's not cashing out. I don't think his team is cashing out. I think they're there to win. And I think I think I've got to go with Joshua based on having seen more of him and knowing about his pedigree. And I don't think he did well in the Olympics, but I could tell then that his style was going to be a lot more suited to the pros. And he's been a good pro so far. And he faced adversity against
White.
Yeah, Dillian White faced adversity against him, and he came through it pretty well. So, and he really ended that fight in fantastic style with one perfect shot. I think you got to go with him to end it early, first 5 rounds. But I'm not counting Martin out at all. I think Martin's pretty good.
Okay, Right, I've got final 2 questions before we call it a wrap, but I want an answer of everyone. I'll give the first answer first. So I'll give the answer first, sorry. Pay-per-view numbers for Pacquiao, Bradley, and for AJ and Charles Martin. Now, we know AJ did 400,000 or 440 in his last pay-per-view against Dillian White, so obviously that gave Hearn the confidence to pay top money basically to get Charles Martin over here. So I'm going to go say 500,000 for both fights. Pacquiao, Bradley.
I think top rank are talking 700,000, aren't they? That's what they're projecting. So I'd go about 6 for Pacquiao, Bradley, and I think that Joshua. It's hard to say with that. It turns out how well the pre-fight hype goes. But there was a lot of hype behind the Dillian White fight, but I think 550 to 600 for that is probably reasonable. I think they're expecting a lot more.
Okay, Steve.
650 for Joshua. Although, like Paul says, the White thing did carry itself along. Martin, from what I've seen, doesn't seem to have the same buzz, but I'll go for 650. Bradley and Pacquiao, I mean, what sort of region? I'm freaking useless at these type of things. Say 750,000? No idea.
Donnie?
I'm going to go between 5 and 6 for Pacquiao, Bradley, and I think AJ is going to smash whatever their expectations are by at least 100. What is that? What are they expecting? 6?
Well, they did 440 for the White fight.
I'll go 650 just because, I mean, it's I think they've done a good job marketing it as a world title fight, even though we know it's a title that unfairly got taken from Fury and all that stuff. It's not going to matter to the casuals. Fans. The place is already, I think it was sold out in 2 minutes or something like that. I mean, people are going to be hyped for this fight. Some people were saying the gloves were off or boring. I thought it was good. I think people who watch that are going to get psyched up about it.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I just stop you? Did you see his wee shuffle at the end, AJ's?
Yeah, we just talked about that.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that was crap.
What was that all about?
He didn't know what to do. He literally didn't know what to do.
Looked like he was trying to get all the practice in that he can get.
But I'll tell you this too. The other thing too is that in terms of my prediction for the fight, I don't think I got one in, but I think that Joshua will win, but I think he's gonna get hurt at least. Maybe not put to the canvas, but hurt on the way to doing it because when Martin throws punches, he's a bit slow, but he seems to have very heavy hands.
Yeah, he's set as well when he throws a punch. He really is got the feet planted when he throws them.
Oh yeah, he commits to those shots all the way. I mean, he doesn't really have great foot movement. He kind of just what's the word I'm looking for? It almost seems like he's sliding towards you all the time. He's kind of like he doesn't have a good bounce in his knees or anything like that. So he's not much in the way of footwork, but he's going to stalk you down, and he's going to look to set up, and he seems to have a good timing, finding openings, and I think he's going to set up that left hand. And being a southpaw, I'm sure they've trained for it, but like you were just saying earlier, it's a little bit different when the lights are on and the crowd is screaming. I think he will catch him at some point. And we've seen in his last fight that he can be hurt. And I'm not saying that he's not going to be able to come back from it, but basically I picked Joshua to win, but not without some drama along the way.
Dave.
I think sorry.
That was a lovely description. That was a lovely description from Donnie there. He does slide into position, doesn't he? Like he's on a little skateboard or something. There's no sort of bounce to him.
Dave.
It's true.
Is this about the pay-per-views? We're back on that. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe this is a low estimate for me about Joshua and Martin. I'm gonna go 450 because I haven't heard much hype about it. From my perspective, I heard a lot.
You fucking live in America.
I mean, that's definitely true, but I feel like I heard a lot more banter between Dillian White sold the fight a lot better than these two guys have. I don't know if that'll have an effect or not. I'm just going to say 450 and Pacquiao Bradley 550.
Oh, did anybody catch Dillian White's tweet to Anthony Joshua last night or this morning when the Sunday Times article broke out? He says, "Is your name being included in that report?" Adam.
Yeah, I don't really care what pay-per-view numbers Pacquiao and Bradley does. I think Joshua will do about 600, to be honest. The hype is real, ladies and gentlemen. The hype is real. Everything is Britain. In Britain, it's Anthony Joshua and then everyone and everything else. In terms of the fight, I think it'll be over pretty easily. I can't really. Martin has not proven how good he is. Obviously, he's not proven how good he is. He's ended up winning a so-called title off an injury in a fight after 2 rounds. We can't make many conclusions for that. You could argue that this is actually a step up for Martin as the world champion. I know it's obviously a step up for Joshua. I'm not saying it isn't, but this is a step up for Martin, arguably, even though he's the champion. It's a long way from a gym hall in Alabama to 20 whatever thousand it is at the O2, or 18,000 what it is at the O2. I think it's going to affect the lad, to be fair. I think this will be over within 3 rounds.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else, guys, you want to add?
Yeah, I've not said my prediction for it. I think Joshua. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's a bit of an unknown for both guys. We don't know how good Martin is, and because Joshua's fought, fairly straightforward, limited opposition, we don't know how good he is. But I know I get stick for it. But I've been on the Joshua hype train since day dot. And I think he takes Charles Martin out with ease within a couple of rounds. I think people keep talking about the southpaw style and it being something different, but again, you guys might correct me here. Can you name any really good southpaw heavyweights in history that you think? I was thinking Michael Moorer was southpaw, wasn't he?
But he was okay, but he was so fucking lethargic at times. That guy suffered with a crisis of confidence at all times.
I mean, he is Teddy Atlas 101, isn't he? He's the guy who really sort of showed what Teddy Atlas's corner work was about. But there aren't.
Stevenson, the Cuban.
Amateur level, yeah. But I mean, it's a limited. I just have visions of an Audley Harrison type whenever I think of heavyweight southpaws, and I just think that Joshua. You know what? Genuinely, it wouldn't surprise me if Joshua got on the jab and boxed and went for a decision. I would not be shocked by that. I think a lot of people expect him just to come in and just knock him out or try and look for the knockout, but it really wouldn't surprise me if Joshua took the pace quite slowly and boxed. But in reality, my out-and-out prediction is Joshua knocks him out, and then we have to endure this talk that Joshua is the world champion when he is actually in bronze medal to the Bronze Bomber and Mr. Tyson Fury.
Yeah. I think the other southpaw heavyweights I can think of would be Corey Sanders and Chris Bird.
Exactly. And we're not talking, good elite guys here, are we? I mean, like I said, Tony Thompson. They're awkward. I mean, Tony Thompson's shown that that style is awkward. And if Joshua was susceptible in Dillian White fight to that left hook, obviously I think the only chance that Martin's got is not just to throw the left hand. He has to be able to throw a short right hand effectively, and he has to be able to keep Joshua away from him on the ropes. If Charles Martin ends up lying with his back on the ropes, it's game over.
What about Erislandy Savone? This is a guy who, in my view, completely schooled Anthony Joshua in the first bout of the Olympics. And I think he might be a southpaw. I'm just saying that because he's Cuban. It's just an assumption.
Yeah, I've heard stories once, I don't know if it's true, but that sometimes they convert certain guys to southpaw to make them even more difficult.
Yeah, the Russians have done it as well a few times.
Yeah, but Charles Martin ain't an awkward southpaw, is he? He's a southpaw.
He's just straight up, I suppose, but he's a big lad and he's got power, I suppose,
What's your prediction, Andy?
For Joshua?
Yeah.
I expect him to knock him out. I do. I mean, if we're getting the hype, he's got the power of this person. You never forget Barry Hearn. He's got the jab of Larry Holmes, the power of Ernie Shakers, and the chin of Ali, and all that shit. Okay, go and fucking prove it, and he's his chance. But I can agree with what Paul says to a degree. Actually, I think he will be slightly cautious. I think he might be kind of wary. I can't think any southpaws that he's boxed off the top of my head.
None.
You could possibly say that Martin's a ranked novice, but he's been managing at this position. I mean, let's not fucking forget about it. Politics have got us to this fucking point. Do not fucking forget that. But I do expect him to knock him out. When, I don't know, but I can also see him being slightly cautious. Southpaw, watching that lead, the straight left hand in the middle, and that, I think that's going to be the punch to watch out for. But
why is it exactly like over the years, like in history, it seems like other weight classes seems to have more southpaws, but the heavyweights never do. I was just always wondering why. Like, I've never heard anybody actually give me a reason, and it's not like a pop quiz or anything.
I just think some nations develop them like that because nobody wants to fight a southpaw. They are hard for me. I've sparred a few, and they are bastards sometimes, because you've got to kind of watch them stand on the lead foot, because you then, you can try and keep your lead foot on the outside of their lead foot, so you can then turn them sometimes, but you can't really do it because it's a fucking weird setup. But you mentioned about other fighters. You mentioned about other fighters there, for instance.
The thing I've ever heard was just that the heavyweight division is a big money division, and every fight, once you get up to the upper levels, tends to be a big money fight. There's some risk involved, and therefore, in the old days, anyways, although not as much anymore, when a guy came to the gym, a heavyweight, and he looked to have, good talent, they immediately converted him because they said, once he gets to, starts to try to break in the top 15, top 10, no one will give him a chance. No one will want to fight him. They'll just ignore him. So that was.
Do you know what I think? Sorry, Danny. I'm a bit of a delay. Sorry, carry on, mate.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's, and people may disagree with this, I think it's because it takes less skill to be a heavyweight than it does, particularly in the lower weight divisions up to super middleweight. I think it's, even when it was at its prime, it's always been the glamour division, but I think the skill level and the punch output and variety of the lower weights mean that you can have, you require different kinds of styles to cope with different types of fighters. I just think that heavyweights, even when it was at its pomp, I think it's easier to do it. I think it's more basic than what we see, and that's why a lot of people prefer to watch. Why has the welterweight division become so big? Why is super middleweight so big? Because the skill on show, I think, pound for pound, is a lot better.
I think it's also been noted as well that Cuba also tend to turn some of their orthodox fighters southpaws. I do know it's happened in Russia and the Ukraine a couple of times. I always felt that Sergey Kovalev was a left-hander. He's just fighting orthodox because the way he turns over that left hand. See that sometimes when he throws the right hand, but he then comes back with another straight left. I don't know what it is. It's maybe just the way he twists his body, or he's got impeccable balance. Because the way he delivers it, I swear I thought he was a fucking converted right-hander. I really did think that. But who knows?
That'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find out. But I just think it might be his balance is so unique, so slick. I just think that's the reason why, either that or he's potentially a converted right-hander. Who knows? But I'd like to thank the panel this week. Adrien Smith, Donny Baseball, Matty D was on for a little bit there. David Haters got back to us. Paul Webb and Steve Wellens. Thanks, Steve, for doing the IT work tonight. I know Alex was getting a bit of abuse off the big pod lads, who's always up my arse and stuff like that. So I think Alex had decided to duck the pod this week to show that he's no my personal plaything, So anyways, I've been your host, Andy Patterson. We'll see you next week. Have a good week. All the best. Cheers.
AJ, champion of the world.
Fuck.
Charles Martin. Charles Martin.
Somebody got to say
and
it.
the new.